Lawrence reacted after the game.
Yes, sir. Coach Stack, he believes we can beat anybody. We believe it also. We haven't beaten them since I came here. So that's been a goal of volleyball, and we got it done tonight.
And a few deals went down last night in the NBA prior to today's trade deadline at 2 p.m. D'Angelo Russell is off to the Los Angeles Lakers, while Russell Westbrook heads to the Utah Jazz, and Kevin Durant was moved late last night to the Phoenix Suns, joining Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And Albert Breer reported yesterday that your Tennessee Titans are to hire Chad Brinker as their new assistant GM after 13 years with the Green Bay Packers. I'm Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado.
4.8. Light to trigger. Inbounds to Robbins. Hands off to Magnon with 3-2. Drives to the bucket. To the right corner. 3 for the win. Yes! Tyrone Lawrence! Right corner, and Vanderbilt scores that signature win, 66-65 over Tennessee.
There you go. Vanderbilt gets a huge win over a top 10 Tennessee team last night. Jerry Stackhouse will join us in 30 minutes. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios. And, of course, you can watch us streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. D-Mase is here. How we doing, D-Mase?
Doing well. Sun is shining. I'm good to go.
It is a beautiful day. Willy Donick, how are we doing on our birthday today?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Willy.
Feeling good. And I was feeling good last night. Shout out to my man, Kevin Ingram, for the great call. You always love, as an announcer, the true buzzer beater, right? Mm-hmm. There's zeros on the clock and the ball's in the air. Is it going in? And it's just a great thrill, right? Even if you're not rooting for a team one way or the other, it's just awesome. That's why we love March Madness, right? You get a couple of those. So I was texting with Kevin. I said, hey, you nailed it. Great call. And he said that was his first. He did Belmont for so many years before he started calling Vanderbilt games a couple years ago. And he said that was the first true buzzer beater. Everyone he's had before, there's still a fraction of a second, 1.2, where there's still a chance for the other team, So that was cool for him. And what a moment last night. That was a team that really needed a big, big win. We're going to talk to Coach Stackhouse here at 11:30, so good job.
Hey, you know what? I am going to say this win is because of Willy Donick.
Oh, really?
I think that's
because
fair.
He was at the facility yesterday.
I was, yeah.
So, and you did a lot with Vandy yesterday morning.
Yep, I went over with Coach Clark Lee. They had the football workouts, and he invited me over just to watch him
the Willy vibes.
Work out. Yeah, so I had a good vibe. I went. Yeah. We're talking about Billy McCaffrey, my teammate. I was at Memorial on Saturday, and I was saying it was McCaffrey. McCaffrey left the Memorial Magic dust because he had so many great moments over there. But it just is a great reminder of what that place can be like, right? It's great. Caroline, you said you went to the Memorial Gym for the first time. You watched LSU here recently when you first got to town.
Year.
Yeah. It's just such a special place. There's some great ones over the years if you want to go through YouTube and find it. The one that I was a part of, Steve Grant, who had one career three-pointer in his career. One career three-pointer. One attempt. And he hit one on ESPN against Georgia, who was ranked 5th. And we went nuts. 1 for 1. And we won on that one. So it's just a great reminder of history when you're a part of something like that. But, that's what they have to work to get back. It was a good crowd last night, but it can be a special place that is a real home court advantage. And, now they're healthy. Who knows? They got some other good teams coming through there. hopefully can start stringing together some wins.
And I have heard of, the Memorial Magic so much from, the years before I got to town. And then over the past couple of years since I have been here, I at least I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And I saw so many pictures, and I wasn't at the game last night, but I saw a few pictures that were put out on Twitter, and it was like, hey, this place against a top 10 ranked team a few years ago, you wouldn't have seen this many open seats 10 minutes before tip-off. But I think last night I was really expecting, honestly, a pretty predominantly orange crowd. And just based off of what I saw on TV, I didn't see that. I listened to Robbie and Joe this morning, and Joe was at the game. He said it was really kind of a 50-50 crowd, and I have to give Vanderbilt fans credit for that because I was under the impression that Tennessee fans are so bought into this basketball team. Maybe some Vanderbilt fans are so not bought into this Vanderbilt team. So it's good to see that it was at least a 50-50, and that's what rivalries should be, is that it's a 50-50 crowd, it's a really back and forth, it's a nail-biter kind of game, and I think college basketball is better. Vanderbilt and Tennessee are better when those games matter.
Yeah, you're right. I was listening to Chase and Michelle this morning on the way in, and Chase mentioned, listen, on paper, Tennessee should have won this game. But I also recognize and understand when Willy talks about this team, he always mentions, hey, if this team is healthy, if the big fella's back and they're healthy, this is a much better team than what it has shown. And I believe that to be true. If this team can stay healthy, then are they the best team in the SEC? Probably not, but they can compete with anyone. And if the game comes down to, if it's closed in the last 2 or 3 minutes, they're capable of pulling games off like they did against UT last night. So this is not a horrible team. This is a team that has had injuries and just inconsistent basketball. But when they're all playing, when they're all healthy and they're all playing the way they should, then it's going to be hard to beat them. Now, will they make the tournament? I don't know. But if they can stay healthy from here on out, I think they're going to put themselves in a position where it's going to come down to the SEC tournament, whether they make it or not.
Yeah, realistically, what they have going for them, they have a very difficult strength of schedule. So they're not going to have some great-looking one-loss record to have a chance to get to the bubble. But they're still playing catch-up. They shot themselves in the foot a couple of times early in the season, lost a couple of games they shouldn't have lost in the non-conference, including the dreaded Quad 4 loss to Grambling, which I don't understand. I didn't see that game, but that was a tough one. That's hard to overcome. But the good news for them is now they've strung together a couple of Quad 1 wins. They still have because the league is so deep, you've got a chance to get a couple of more. To me, if they could get to 10-8, they're 5-6 in the league right now. They have 3 more home games. They've got to get to the point where they are holding serve against the best teams at home. That's how Vanderbilt has won through the years. And kind of tying it into your thing, Caroline, I mean, they've got a fan base issue, really for decades now since this became a pro town. It's been a struggle to keep and generate new fans. That's something they got to keep working on. It certainly helps when you have a really good team. But I think if you can get some momentum going, start winning games at home, you'll start to see the fans come back a little bit more. It'll be something that people are going to want to come and see. And then you've got to steal a couple games on the road. So that would be 3 home wins and split the remaining road games. That could get you to 10-8. And then I think you would be in the discussion to where if you could have a good SEC tournament, maybe get another big win, which is in Nashville here at Bridgestone Arena, then maybe you could sneak into a bubble conversation. But you're fighting uphill. But I think, like you said, Derek, when I see them play and I see Jordan Wright, Tyron Lawrence, and Liam Robbins on the court, it's a little bit of an older team. They have experience, and they've shown that they can hang. Even the game in Knoxville earlier this year, they led at half. Like, it wasn't surprising to me that they were in the game last night. If you watch that game from start to finish, it's a dogfight. It's back and forth. Nobody really had a big lead throughout the game. And so they played even with Tennessee, and it wasn't that different in Knoxville. So that shows you what they are, especially with Robbins. Robbins, they missed him for almost 3 weeks. He missed a ton of games last year, and so we'll never know what that team could have been like when they had Pippen and Robbins. When they were both on the court together, they're pretty good. So can't do anything about it now, but we'll see what they can accomplish from here to the end of the season.
And I look at Vanderbilt's last week or so. It's been a little bit over a week since they lost by 60 points to Alabama.
101-44. And that's when everything just completely flared up, right? Robbins, that was his first game back. He was clearly rusty.
Tyron Lawrence was on the bench.
He benched Tyron Lawrence. And in that game in the first half, Robbins and Jordan Wright banged heads. Jordan Wright got a concussion, left the game, and Robbins was out of the game for a long time. He was bleeding, had to get stitches. And by the time he got back in there, it was the game was well out of control. It was so everything went wrong that night. And Alabama too had come off their worst performance of the year.
Against
They
Oklahoma.
had a little bit of a mini shooting slump. So it was the perfect storm, right? So that was one. And look, hopefully that was the turning point, and the team had a good response to it. But like we said, now we'll see what happens. They have a couple road games coming up here at Florida, at South Carolina. Those are big tests, right? Going on the road in the league to see if you can have some success. See if you can build off of this.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. I heard a lot of talk today about how this game last night may rectify Jerry Stackhouse's reputation with some Vanderbilt fans, how a lot of people might be looking at Jerry Stackhouse a little bit differently. And while I do think last night was such a good and important game and win for Vanderbilt, what does that game really mean? Because it's one game. It could change your perspective, but what does that game mean both for Vanderbilt and for Tennessee? Because I think that both things can be true. That it was a good win and a good game for Vanderbilt and a bad loss and a bad game for Tennessee and for Rick Barnes as well. So what does that game mean for both of these fan bases, for both of these programs? We'll get into that coming up next. And your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025. We'll take the Vandy fans gloating, and we will take the Vols fans who I know are probably a little bit depressed today. We'll get into all of that coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Your home for MTSU basketball is 94.9 The Fan.
Three ball, yes sir!
All the big shots and moments live here. MTSU basketball is on a station built for you. 94.9 The Fan.
Actor portrayal.
Hi, I'm Diane, and my husband Jack has low testosterone.
Hi, I'm Jack. I knew something was wrong when I went from feeling energetic and youthful to tired all the time and not sleeping well, putting on belly fat, and my sex drive just dropped.
The fun, active Heartland lifestyle we always enjoyed was disappearing. Then our sex life declined, and eventually we just stopped.
I had to do something, so Diane and I went to the sexual health specialist at Tennessee Men's Clinic. We learned that nearly half of men over 50 suffer from ED and low testosterone.
It was refreshing to hear that one size doesn't fit all. They have a variety of therapies depending on age, medical condition, and lifestyle. He's back to the man I fell in love with.
My energy's back. Our intimacy is better than it's been in years. I can't thank Tennessee Men's Clinic enough.
Your first visit to the Tennessee Men's Clinic is only $99. They have multiple treatment options for low T and ED. Book your appointment today. Call 615-208-9090 or book online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Hey, here to tell you about Loan Pronto and remind everybody what they want to get the word out on here as we get cranking up in 2023. Your financial plan is underway. And one of the things, if you assess and you say, you know what, my mortgage rate, I got caught. Interest rates were high. I had to make a deal. Well, they can change that with a refi right now in the fours. APRs in the fours at Loan Pronto. So call right now and get on that. 615-499-5780, because what that means is money in your pocket. They can save you $500 a month or more. You can close in about 14 days. It's all digital. It's a great, easy process. I've been through it myself. Loan Pronto can be reached at 615-499-5780, and you'll be on a better financial track. Go to loanpronto.com for more details, and you'll be on your way to a good 2023 financially. Loanpronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Football fans, FanDuel has the perfect way for everyone to get in on the Super Bowl 57 action with a no-sweat same-game parlay. That means everyone gets bonus bets back if your Super Bowl same-game parlay does not hit. Joe Rugg's here to let you know it does not matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, because same-game parlays let you combine all your favorite bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Start building your own, or just bet a popular same-game parlay already made for you in America's #1 sportsbook. As I'm looking at this game, first of all, I'd go back and forth on Chiefs, Eagles. I think it's going to be a great game, but I'm going to go A.J. Brown anytime touchdown. I'm going to go Jalen Hurts over on the rushing yards, Patrick Mahomes over on the passing yards. That would be my parlay at this point. Now, if you're new, sign up with promo code Joe102 when you download the app. Either way, you're going to get bonus bets back if your no-sweat same-game parlay does not hit. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And you must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. 3+ legs, minimum $1 bet required. Refund issued is now withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Heart of my heart, I love you.
This year, give your Valentine a gift she'll never forget. A song of love delivered in person by a barbershop quartet. At home, at work, anywhere in the Nashville metro area.
To book your singing Valentine, call 615-200-6193 or go to musiccitychorus.org. That's 615-200-6193 or online at musiccitychorus.org.
Join the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce February 14th, 16th, 21st, and 23rd for an exclusive look into what makes Nashville the it city. Whether you're new to town or a Nashville native, Intro Nashville gives you the opportunity to become engaged and connected to our city's community. During this multi-day immersive program, you'll hear from over 20 community leaders and industry experts whose storytelling unlocks a comprehensive view of our city and region. Gain historical and economic perspective on Nashville while establishing relationships with local business leaders. Space is limited. Register now at intronash.com.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Yes, sir. Coach Stack, he believes we can beat anybody. We believe it also. We haven't beaten them since I came here. So there's been a goal of volleyball, and we got it done tonight.
There you go. That was Tyron Lawrence, who hit the buzzer beater 3 to beat Tennessee last night. Vanderbilt taking down the top 10 Volunteers last night, 66-65. Now, I want to get into what a win meant for Vanderbilt, what a loss like that means for Tennessee, but I promise your thoughts and your phones. So to your phones we will go. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dan is up next. What's up, Dan?
Hello?
Go ahead, Dan.
I'm a Vandiana UT fan. I've got a season ticket holder at Vanderbilt, and I had a good seat, and it was a great game. I'm interested in Leon Robbins as a problem at Vanderbilt. He's clearly their best player. He's their leading scorer, leading rebounder, leader in block shots, and yet the last two games are the first time he started in a while. Some of that has to do with trying to keep him on the court at the end. And I'll leave you with two questions about that. One is, nobody has clearly stated that this is his last season. He missed most of last season with an injury between the COVID year and the injury. I wonder if he might be back next year.
It seems like nobody ever runs out of eligibility,
Mm-mm.
right? That's with
That
the COVID year
yeah.
and the interesting red shirt rules.
Now, does he have another year left?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest, I lose track of what the rules are. There's some times where I'm like, this guy still could come back and play next year. I mean, like
25-year-old Stetson Bennett. It'd be still playing
exactly.
in college
Well, that's
football.
an
he's
extreme
my
example.
age.
Yeah. So that I don't know for sure. He makes an interesting point. They have tried to bring Robbins off the bench at times because he can be foul prone, and he got in foul trouble last night. He's an aggressive player. He's one of the best shot blockers.
He's a big man and he's aggressive.
Yep, he's one of the best shot blockers in the country, but he can pick up those 2 quick fouls, and all of a sudden you have to sit him for a large portion of, say, the first half. But so that's been a constant thing to try to figure out. And Jerry Stackhouse, there's no question, with his starting lineups, sometimes it's a little bit of a mystery. He has different things, and you referred to this. We just heard from Tyron Lawrence, and Tyron Lawrence was benched for an entire game by Jerry Stackhouse because he didn't like what was happening in practice. But Joe Rexrode from our staff, obviously, and he writes for The Athletic, he wrote a really good article last night, and he had gone to the media session the day before the win. It had Jerry Stackhouse talking about his relationship with Tyron Lawrence, and it gives you a viewpoint in, that coach-player relationship. Tyron Lawrence lost his dad growing up. He said, I want the tough love. I want to make this guy a good man. I made a promise to his family. I was going to be like a father figure to him, and it can't just be all wine and roses all the time. I did what I thought was right. Tyron Lawrence has played 2 great games since it wasn't just the buzzer beater last night. He was great from start to finish. He had, I think, 19 points. Was excellent in their win over Ole Miss on Saturday. But Jerry Stackhouse's thing was like, it's not just about the games, right? There is more to coaching, and that does get lost sometimes, especially in the Twitter sphere where it's either you win a championship, or you're not successful. The coach either is successful, and if he's not, we fire him. There's just, it's so simplified. But I like the stories like that. I do think there is more to it, and that was a really, I think, eye-opening thing for me to read about with how he's tried to handle a young man with that.
It's crazy what you just said. It's crazy how and we're all, I think, are at fault because there is that fandom within all of us. Whether me cheering for Michigan State, you cheering for LSU, Carolina, or you cheering for Vanderbilt, Willie, there's that fandom inside of us to whereas it's, okay, he's not winning or she's not winning. Then they start winning. Oh, they're not winning championships. So it's like, unless they're winning championships, and then when they win the championships, it's, oh, when is the next one? So it's never good enough for the fans. And I'm only speaking that because we're talking about Vandy. Obviously, they haven't been consistent. So we understand why, there's rumblings or people are upset and whatnot, especially after the extension. So I understand, why they would, sort of say the things they say or feel the way they feel about the program. But it's just funny when Willie was saying that. It was like, okay, if a coach, if he or she isn't winning, then they start winning. It's you're not winning enough. Then they start winning enough. It's not you're not winning championships. Then they win a championship. It's like, well, you hadn't won one in the last 7-8 years.
Right.
It'll never
the higher
be
the
enough.
bar raises, the more the expectation. I think Rick Barnes is going through the same thing right now. He has raised the bar for the expectations. If you look at his predecessors, sort of since the Bruce Pearl fallout, they've had a lot of ups and downs. They, making the tournament was not a given. Now with this Tennessee team, making the tournament is a given. It's just all about, well, why haven't they gone to the Final Four? Well, why haven't they won a national? Like you said, the bar, you almost become your own worst enemy. So he appears to be an underachiever when it all depends on what your standard is, right? So I can remember a Tennessee team where nobody was going to the games. It's a pretty big place. It can be like a mausoleum. And they didn't win much. So now the standard is different, right?
Well, the standard is going to raise now because you brought up the question, what does this mean moving forward for Vandy and what does it mean for UT? Well, I think what it means for Vandy is people see now you can win these games.
Look what you're capable
exactly,
of doing.
Absolutely.
And there's a hunger to get back to the tournament for Vanderbilt fans, right? When Kevin Stallings was there, what happened to Kevin Stallings? He made the tournament a bunch of times. He had some really good teams with Shane Foster and Jeffrey Taylor and John Jenkins and A.J. Ogilvy. Some really good teams. But then it was like, well, how about a championship? Well, how about a deep tournament run? And so the expectations were high, and he left after they made the tournament. They made the tournament, but people were disappointed. It was a team that probably was more talented than they finished. They barely made it. They were one of the last 4 in. And so he took off and went to Pittsburgh. But, hey, They've only made the tournament one time since then. People are like, we got to get back to the tournament. We got to get back to the tournament.
Because
So
the
see what I'm saying?
conversation
The bar raises. So what's happening
next?
with Stackhouse? They haven't made the tournament since he's been there. They had the fallout with Bryce Drew where they had a couple of bad years. So people are tired of losing. They're hungry to win. They want to see more of this. Totally understandable, for sure.
And I think the Vanderbilt perspective is kind of different than the Tennessee perspective, because Vanderbilt, it's okay, now we got a little bit of taste of how good we can be and how fun it is when we can win again. Like when the students stormed the court last night. That's really fun, and Vanderbilt fans want to see that more consistently. They don't want to go, the last 11 matchups with Tennessee without a win. But I think it's the opposite of Tennessee of, okay, beating a top 10 Texas team and looking really good while doing it isn't enough for us anymore whenever you go the next 3 games, losing to a below-average Florida team, looking really sluggish offensively against a solid Auburn team, and then going on the road at Vanderbilt and losing to Vanderbilt in in-state rivalry. That's just not enough for Tennessee fans anymore. So for Vanderbilt, the perspective, in my opinion, is, okay, how can you build upon this win? The perspective for Tennessee is, how can you consistently win? Because now we're always in the conversation, but then can we go further than that? We're always going to be in the tournament, but how do we win in the tournament? So it's 2 different perspectives, and I think that both things can be true, that this was a really bad loss for Tennessee. And Tennessee, even though they beat Auburn, have been on kind of a rough skid offensively. And I can think the same thing can be true for Vanderbilt, that this was a really good win. Now, what do you do with it next?
I think with Tennessee, as we said before, like when they lost to Florida and then they got through the Auburn game, I think a team in college basketball, especially today, you don't see a team like the UCLA teams way back with John Wooden, where they're just so much better than 90% of the teams they play.
You can hide players.
Older stacked teams like Bill Walton and Kareem for
longer.
3 years. Yeah,
now players that are for a year and leave.
So now, it's hard to dominate. And I think even a really good team, and I do think Tennessee's a really good team, you're going to have a little lull. So what you got to hope for if you're Rick Barnes is you're going through a little bit of a lull where you maybe don't have your A game. You're facing a desperate team like Vanderbilt or a desperate team like Florida that's trying to stay alive. They're trying to keep their season going. They're trying to get momentum to get into the picture, to keep playing and finish your best. And you get picked off, right? It's hard to win every game in this league because it's a deep league. It's not like it was, say, I think they went through a lull in the SEC where it was a little top-heavy. So the key is, does it bring them together, and do they come out of the slump? I thought Alabama had a little mini slump, but, man, they have come out of it, and they are lights out right now. They have dominated the last couple of games. So it's a long season, and the fact is they could go undefeated Tennessee, and a lot of the fans would be like, well, show me what you do in the tournament, right? They're going to be in the tournament. They're going to be in the tournament, and they're going to have a good seed, and that's when really the jury will be out.
And honestly, I think that's kind of fair from Tennessee fans because it's kind of been the same thing with Rick Barnes is you have a great regular season and that you win the SEC tournament and then you get bounced by Michigan early on in the tournament. So win the SEC tournament and then you get bounced in the NCAA tournament. So I think that is kind of a fair criticism of Rick Barnes. And if Tennessee fans want more, I get it. I totally get it. Jerry Stackhouse, head Vanderbilt basketball coach, will join us coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Chiefs, Eagles. All this week, join Stillman and Company live from Radio Row as Jerry gets you ready for the big game.
Bring it on, Chop. Let's go.
Our coverage is presented by Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue in the Richland Green Shopping Center. Pay no money down and no interest for 1 year. Right now during their tax refund sale. It's Radio Row with Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Mid-State Sports League spring registration is now open. Adults can register for softball, sand volleyball, soccer, kickball, flag football, and basketball. With the largest leagues in Nashville, there's a league for everyone. For more information about youth or adult sports, visit midstatesports.com. Houston Clinic Orthopedics has been serving Wilson County for over 12 years. To ensure safety of both their patients and staff, they are strictly adhering to CDC and OSHA guidelines. They're located where you live and work, just off South Hartman Drive in Lebanon, focusing on general orthopedics, sports medicine trauma, and arthroscopic of the hip, shoulder, foot, and ankle. When experience matters, trust the #1 orthopedic clinic in Wilson County. For more info or to book an appointment, visit tn.houston.com.
when you want to rock.
Let's go, don't wait. This night's almost over. Do all the monsters come out at night? Why do we sleep when we want to?
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
When you want live and local, if they were just better at the offensive line.
You could be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years? The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey Nashville, this is Mookie Betts. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. Vanderbilt with a big win over a top 10 Tennessee team last night. A last-minute buzzer beater, 3 to win. Jerry Stackhouse joins us now. Jerry Stackhouse, appreciate you for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me.
All right, Coach. First, I got to hear about the body language on the last shot. We've got to now that the coaches come up along the sideline, right? Which didn't used to be allowed at Memorial Gym. You used to have to stand under the basket. Now they let the coaches, but you're kind of on the island for everybody to see. I love the lean back on the shot and then the celebration. That was great. So did the body English? I feel like that might have helped it drop a little bit for Tyron Lawrence there.
Man, I had all the English. I put all the English I could on it, man. Yeah, that was. And then after that, obviously, it was out of body. It was out of body. I had no control, man. I was like, hold on, let me make sure this thing was good. So I was searching around, going to the scores table, frantic asking them, and then Tony Green came up and he told me the basket's good. We're gonna take a look at it, but the basket's good, man. And I didn't grab and hug Tony Green, so it was one of those out of bodies for sure.
The other thing that's so interesting with the benches being on the baseline, and D-Mase, I have been on that bench, and I was frequently on the bench at the end of the game. But Tyron Lawrence was as close to the corner as you could be. Mm-hmm. I swear some of the guys on the bench could have reached out and touched him almost. They were so close to him. So it's like he had a huddle of about 10 people just rooting him on for that shot. He was very close to him. That was a pretty cool sight.
No doubt, man. I think my favorite part of it, I was rewatching it and going back there and soon as they converged on the basket, all of the guys, before Ez even passed the ball, all the guys had the 3 fingers up. They know that ball was supposed to get there, man. It was fun. And just playing the right way. I mean, obviously, we would have took the 2 if he would have had a wide open lane. But, when they converged like that, he made the right play, man. 2 hands on the ball, on time, on target. And Tyron jumped up and knocked down, man, unbelievable shot, man. One we'll all remember for sure.
Now, Coach, how do you because coming into the game, obviously, this is a top-ranked team in UT, and their defense is probably the best if you're looking at it based upon numbers and statistics. They're probably the best defense in college basketball. But how do you attack a defense like that, knowing that they got length, They got, the speed. They can get to spots very quickly on the defensive end.
I mean, I think the key to it, man, is really everybody has different styles, and again, they play teams with different styles. And I think we play a number of different styles. We can post it. Three-pointers are part of our game, a huge part of our game. But the key to it all is screening, right? And I think that's what screening angles and who to screen. I think it's different night in and night out. Whether you're going to try to screen for the guy you're trying to get open, or you're actually we're switching teams, you're having to screen your own man. So it's those are reads. So you can't just be on the weak side thinking, okay, somebody passed me the ball. I have to read the situation and know who I have to screen and coming at the right angle and those things. And we did a good job of screening them last night, and we did a good job of screening them at their place, and we got shots. We still have left a lot on the table, man. We had some great looks from guys that has been shooting it really well for us that just didn't go last night. So that's the positive about it. I think we still got an uptick of where we can go offensively and of course on the defensive end.
We'll talk with Vanderbilt's head basketball coach, Jerry Stackhouse, coming off a big win last night versus number 6 UT. Now, Coach, how is the consistency just as simple as staying healthy with your ball club? Because you get the big fella back, I think 2 games ago, but he's been injured. He's been out 2 weeks, and you've been dealing with injuries since you've been there as the head coach. But is it just staying healthy to build that consistency?
Yeah, I mean, that's some of it, man. I just think a lot of those games were still, you go back and you look at, we had opportunities no matter who, suited up or who didn't suit up. We had opportunities that we could control ourselves and maybe, control our own destiny. Yeah, we had a couple tough breaks with some, non-calls, goal to 10, a couple games and different things like that, has some impact. But it is great to be healthy and you can have some consistent lineups. It took some time to play some guys that we know, just building continuity, playing our freshmen. But now it's that time for us to lock in. We found out the guys that can help us and contribute, and we're going to stick with that rotation. Not that we don't trust some of the guys that's not in the rotation right now. It's just, if someone goes down, you have an ankle or anything like that, those guys are in play. But right now, I just like the rotation a little bit tighter, coming down the stretch.
And think about Jerry Stackhouse is with us. Just 8 days ago, a bad loss against Alabama. Tyron Lawrence is on the bench. And then you turn around and Tyron Lawrence hits a buzzer beater 3 to beat one of the top teams in the country, and you beat Tennessee. So to what or to whom do you credit that turnaround over the last week and change?
I think you just credited the sports, man. I just think sports does an unbelievable job of teaching lessons and, being able to deal with adversity, being able to bounce back from it, having some resiliency, being able to take criticism, being able to take coaching. And, and I think, Tyron's experienced some of that this week, just from the standpoint of continuing to just give us more because I think he's capable. I feel like he's one of those guys that we can push for more. Jordan Wright is another one of those guys that we can push for more. Liam is a guy that we can push for more. So, and we squeeze it, we all we can out of all of them. But I just think those guys can, when they're really assertive, and that's what it took to beat a team like Tennessee, man. Just we're not relaxing during possessions. And we all do it. I'm pretty sure if I go back and watch a film, I did it a ton too. But we got to get guys out of the the relaxing mode when I'm not engaged, when I'm not I'm not involved with the ball. And I think that's the difference in us. If we can find a way to do that the rest of the way, we have a chance to win every game that we play from here on out. And it's just doing it more consistent. Even last night, going back and watch the games, we did it, better than we had been doing, but it's still another level for it. And like I said, I think that's the exciting part. We just got to do it.
Jerry Stackhouse is with us. And how do you find that delicate balance between celebrating a big win last night, congratulating your guys on a really good performance last night, but also understanding that the work is far from over and kind of turning around and getting, prepped and ready for Florida on Saturday?
No, I think that's, we got mature guys that I think we'll be able to turn the page and focus on Florida and what we really want to accomplish, our bigger goals. But hell, we're going to enjoy this one a little bit. It's been a long time.
As you should.
So The rest of this day, probably sometime this evening, it might be over with. But we're still enjoying this one right now, man, and rightfully so. I think it was a great one for our fans, great one for just students, everybody. I mean, it's been a tough road for this class, this 4-year class since we've been in here. The kids dealt with COVID, not going to class, and for them to have a memory of beating, UT at home, that they could carry with them for forever, man. That's what it's all about to me.
Coach Jerry Stackhouse is with us. Coach, Caroline referenced Tyron Lawrence, and there was a really interesting article Joe Rexroad did, and you sort of talked with the media about the process, right? What a lot of us don't see every day, but the relationship you build with your players and the rewarding. You coached a long time in the pros, but I mean you're shaping young guys coming up through, and Tyron's got an interesting situation. You talked about he lost his father growing up, and you wanted to sort of fill that gap as much as you can as a coach, and it's not always wine and roses, right? There was some tough love involved there, but it's great to see a story like that when he bounces back and plays the way he has.
No doubt, man. I mean, I just think that's about it. It's about families and having those connections. Our staff, that's what they do. We deal with these guys on a day-to-day basis, spend a ton of time with them, not only just on the basketball court, but in their lives with different things that's going on with them. So, and as part of it, we embrace all of that. So we have different lessons that we have to try to teach it at different times, and maybe, the timing may not seem right to everybody else, but it's what's deemed necessary for what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. And I think that's just part of it, man. We're doing it with just the words and maybe a little bit of benching. My daddy used to grab that belt, you know what I'm saying, and tighten up on you a little bit. so no, it's but it's part of it, man. There's some tough love in there, and again, it's doing it with the guys that have the potential and to do more. And but it's the relationship wise and building that stuff is part of it, and I think our guys understand it as well. Yeah, he was disappointed, but he responded. I mean, it's not to say that was necessarily what he needed, but I think it was. You know what I'm saying? You see how he played and how he's competed. And there's still another big level for Tyron. I mean, he didn't grade out great defensively last night. He did it for us on the offensive end, and that stood out. But I'm going to be on his ass again today because he didn't grade out good. So that's going to continue until we get the change of behavior. That's what we're trying to get, man. We're trying to have that consistency of change behavior. And we talk about it, and that's why it's a little frustrating because we've been telling these guys for 3 and 4 years. I expected a little bit more from the freshmen. They've only been here since the spring, but. And when you're trying to build a program, you need to hold those guys accountable so those young guys don't see that this is acceptable. What you allow is what you accept, and it's not acceptable. And we've had some growth areas there, and hopefully all the battle tests, the schedule that we played, and all these other little tests that we had are going to help us really finish strong. That's what I'm hoping for.
One more quick one, just from a pure basketball standpoint. It was fun to watch. Ezra Magnon go head-to-head with Zakai Ziegler, who's both really good point guards. And Magnon, I see improvement for him. He's really making great decisions. Yeah. He made the pass, of course, to Tyron Lawrence. But, here's the guy that part of your job now as a coach, you bring these transfers in. They've got to acclimate, and they've got to make it happen here. It looks like he's really made a lot of progress here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like for us, it's either really a grad or it's like maybe a guy that's been in college a year. The ones in the middle don't really make sense for us because they have to give back so much credits academically. And but Ed decided that he wanted this. He wanted to be at Vanderbilt. He loved what we had going on to where he gave back some of his credits. So we have him for 2 years now. So and he's getting better and better. I mean, I think they're almost like carbon copy of each other. Probably Ziegler shoots it a little better right now, but Ed is always in the gym working on it. When he gets to where he can consistently keep the defense honestly with that three, the sky is going to be the limit for expanding our game even more. So, but no, he just how he competes defensively into the ball, the leader that he is. I mean, big guy with, getting guys for, Bible sessions and but that's who he is, man. And he's special, and we're glad to have him for sure.
Now, the last question I have for you, Coach. I know where I was the other night watching LeBron break the record. I'm on FaceTime with my son up in Boston U because he's a huge LeBron fan, so he and I are FaceTiming as the plays are going on. And I couldn't celebrate because I was 10 seconds ahead of him, so I had to wait to celebrate until he finally saw it. But where were you when LeBron broke the record, and what do you think it means for the sport of basketball?
Man, it's crazy. Like we were all watching the game, and I saw the first half, and then I was falling asleep during the second. but my wife and we were all sitting in the living room, so I'm hearing them scream. So I'm up and I'm looking up, and I caught the replay. I actually missed the actual record. But I was awake at when he was 8 points away. So I fell asleep on the last 8 points. So, but no, it was obviously a hell of an accomplishment, man. The guy's unbelievable what he's been able to accomplish. I think he's definitely earned the right to be in the GOAT talk, the greatest of all time. Obviously guys from my area always gonna have Michael Jordan as the ultimate competitor and the GOAT, but no, I think LeBron is solidified to be in that conversation, man. And especially for a guy that was supposed to be passed first and got criticized for not, shooting more, and now he's the all-time leading scorer. So man, that's an awesome achievement for him and his family for sure.
Vanderbilt head basketball coach Jerry Stackhouse joining us. We appreciate you for joining us, Coach. Safe travels to Gainesville this weekend.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, appreciate you. Hey, later today, you can tune in for Stillman & Company live from Radio Row, brought to you by Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue in the Richland Creek Shopping Center. Pay no money down and no interest for 1 year right now during their tax refund sale. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
White 85! Every team needs a quarterback.
White 85! Take!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown!
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Men, listen up. I know you hear me. I know you're listening to us. And I need to tell you something about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife, Daphne, along with that experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. And there's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. Man, what are you waiting for? Give Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today to make an appointment. I've already made mine. You need to make yours. And here's the number, 615-486-3458, 615-486-3458. And if you're not near your phone, but you're at your computer, here's the website at coolspringsmd.com.
Hey folks, Joe Rexford here for FanDuel Sportsbook. We all have our systems when we bet, from picking the perfect upset, combing through injury reports the night before a game. But there's one thing every bettor should also include in their system, the responsible gaming tools available on FanDuel Sportsbook. These tools help keep your play in check and under control. These are tools like time limits, so you don't unknowingly spend more time on the app than you intended, wager limits to help prevent you from betting more than you should, and you can even take a timeout, which pauses your account for as long as you may need. FanDuel Sportsbook, of course, an absolutely fantastic sportsbook. And, it's easy to use, it's fun, it's safe, secure. It also needs to be used responsibly. FanDuel wants every bettor's experience to be about fun and entertainment. So visit FanDuel.com/playwell and make responsible gaming tools a part of your system. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Sometimes he gets lonely and needs some company.
10 for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company.
You've got real talent.
With Jared Stillman. Weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. Appreciate Jerry Stackhouse for joining us in the last segment. Let's get into your phones, your thoughts. Everything is on the table. Vandy's big win over Tennessee. If you're a Tennessee fan and you just need a vent, I totally understand. Also, some Titans topics as well. The recent hires, the promotion of Tim Kelly to offensive coordinator. Let's get into your thoughts. 615-737-1025. Allie in Bellevue texts in and says Calipari should coach at Vandy if all they have to do to be accepted by your fan base is beat Tennessee. So, Willy, I'm sure you have a better perspective on this than I do, but my thought on that is it's not like the fan base is all of a sudden saying, okay, great, job's done.
Exactly.
That's all we need to do now.
Well,
is just beat Tennessee.
You're only as good as your last game, right?
Exactly.
That's always the thing.
But I think that both things can be true, that the fan base can be really happy and really excited and really pleased with a big win over a rival while also wanting more. It's not like the fan base is, all set, let's give Jerry Stackhouse a lifetime contract just because of that one game.
Yeah, and, look, you need to enjoy moments like that. You need, like you heard Jerry Stackhouse say, I'm going to let those guys enjoy it until practice starts today. And then you start moving ahead. But these are memories that you'll have. Just a buzzer beater like that against a really good team. But the job's not done, right? You move forward. That's part of your job is you take it in stride. Allie also texted, she had back-to-back texts there. Mm-hmm. She said, I'd be shocked if Vanderbilt would have beaten Tennessee without being embarrassed by Bama. I do think that does happen sometimes in sports. We talked about the Predators. Would they have played 3 really good games had they not played so bad against St. Louis? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I remember a team I was on my freshman year at Vanderbilt. We lost at Mississippi State and got embarrassed. Very similar. Just we're terrible. And then the next day we had what we always remember as practice number 75. We had a 7-game losing streak in the league. It knocked us out of really a chance to go to the tournament. We lost 7 in a row in the league. It was kind of 3/4 of the way through the SEC season. Practice number 75, he ran our coach Eddie Folger. He ran our butts off. It was brutal. Like it was like Miracle. When you watch Herb Brooks in Norway or wherever. Again. It was a nightmare. But we turned it around after that. And you could, and then we ended up almost winning the SEC tournament. We fell just short. We beat the number 1 seed, Georgia, the league champion that year, and then we won the NIT. We won 5 in a row to win the NIT. So by the end of the year, we were really good. And so the point is, we were sort of asking ourselves the same question that Allie's asking. If we hadn't had that awful game against Mississippi State, would we have turned our season around after that? Maybe that's what it took. I don't know. But I do think sometimes when you get challenged like that, it does test you, and you do bounce back. And like we were talking about at the start, what does Vanderbilt do with this win? How can they use this win to lead to more success? You heard Coach Stackhouse say there's more room for improvement. He watches the tape. They weren't perfect. There's still more room to grow.
Well, it all depends on, you got to look at the game within the game. And you mentioned it, Willie. Listen, Liam went down, smacked heads with another player. That player,
Jordan Wright, a good player.
He ends up going out and not coming back. Liam has to get stitches, and he missed majority of the game. He comes back in. He's just coming back from injury, so he's not fully into the flow of the game. So when you look at a game, if you don't watch the game, you think, man, they got blew out. Like, goodness gracious. But if you actually watch the game and see what's going on, then you will see, well, maybe they would have still gotten beaten, but not that bad. Maybe they would have lost by 10 points had things not happened within the game that put their players, out of the game or for extended period of time. So, you look at the Alabama game and what happened, but then they come back. And I know Ole Miss is a bad team, but they came back and they got a victory with Ole Miss. So they proved that they can come back and win a game, albeit against a bad team. But when you get embarrassed like that, sometimes it carries over to the next game, and you just don't put forth the effort that you need to win that game. But they didn't do that. They won a close game. Then they come back, then they come back and I don't think it was necessarily that they beat UT. It was in the fashion that they beat them. A last-second buzzer beater after they had been hanging with. Yeah. So had they beaten them by 10 points and they knew, like, the last 2 minutes of the game, we got this game, the celebration might have been a little bit tapered down a little bit. But when you hit a last-second shot, I mean, you just going to automatically just go crazy.
I mean, those are the moments we love in sports.
Exactly.
Buzzer beaters, Hail Marys, crazy last-second plays to barely just squeak by with a win. That's what we love, the dramatics of sports. And to that point, too, about, Vanderbilt wouldn't have beat Tennessee if they hadn't lost so big to Alabama. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. That doesn't change anything. That's a totally valid thought to have. It doesn't change the outcome by any means. Andy Texan says, I'm a Vandy fan, but Jerry Stackhouse has got to be getting more 4- and 5-star recruits. He's working with awesome 3-stars, which is a credit to his coaching, but we got to shoot for the stars.
Hey, they're shooting for them.
Yeah. I don't think they're not trying.
Hey, listen, we don't want any 4- or 5-star guys. Y'all, nope. Y'all go past our university. All 3-star, 2-star, 1-star, no star. Come on in. Y'all can. And no, they're trying to recruit them, but you're trying to recruit with just in your conference. Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn. So you got Kentucky. You got people that you're recruiting against just within the own SEC. So it's going to be tough, and then the requirements to get in Vandy. Not only is it, these are not just requirements for the football team or the baseball team; they're for the basketball team as well. So it's a little bit more difficult to get into, Vandy or, guys come in and they see where your program has been. And a lot of times that's a deterrent for them,
I think sometimes when I've watched his teams, if he could just get the one guy, you don't have to have 5-star guys, but, great teams for Vanderbilt through the years. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a, quote, 5-star guy, but one real standout guy, a Shane Foster, a Matt Freege, a Will Perdue, a Billy McCaffrey. That's what maybe can put you over the top. Kevin Stallings had some great teams where he had maybe not one guy, but he had John Jenkins and Jeffrey Taylor and Festus Ezeli, right? Like he had a couple of guys that could sort of lift everybody else. I feel like the role players are there. And Robbins is close, like when he's out there. Robbins is a game changer when he's in there.
He just got to stay in there.
I think the texture is fair, right? They'd like a little bit higher level, of player is what they're searching for. I think Coach Stackhouse has done a good job. His players who stay, I do think, can show improvement. He can develop players. He's very, very good at that. Scottie Pippen got way better from the time he entered campus to the time he left campus. No question about it. But, what do they always say about the Jimmies and Joes, right? It's just, you got to get the players. And so they're close, but there's another level there for sure.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll continue to get back into your phones, your thoughts. But over the past few weeks, we've all been trying, even the past few months, ever since the beginning of football season, we've been trying to diagnose why Ryan Tannehill has regressed since that 2020 season. Did someone get to the bottom of it? And it's maybe not very encouraging for Titans fans. We'll get into that. Coming up next, it's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You love the game.
The doors on the board. Touchdown at TSU.
We live the game.
Going up against that defense, he can make some plays and take that next step.
We are
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
The big game is finally here, and so are huge savings at Electronic Express. Come into any of our convenient locations and save big on 4K TVs from your favorite brands like Samsung, LG, Sony, TCL, Hisense, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. 4K TVs, computers, appliances, housewares, Bluetooth speakers, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 36 months free financing. Score amazing deals in-store or online at electronicexpress.com. Electronic Express, we make it happen.
When looking to buy or sell a new home, economy comes into play, right? Hey, it's Withrow. Hunter, Richard, and the crew at Regal Realty Group are in the know about the housing market. Rates have started going back down and are more feasible, and Nashville is on the upswing again. The Regal Realty Group team can help you from contract to closing and everything in between. Their in-house title company, Monarch, will even come to wherever you are to close. These days, it's all about convenience, and Regal Realty Group makes it so convenient. Give them a call at 866-OUTKICK and let them get to work for you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Now, your Game Center update.
The Vanderbilt Commodores took down the number 6 Tennessee men's basketball team last night in Memorial Gymnasium. Tyron Lawrence hit a three-pointer at the buzzer to win 66-65 over the Vols. Head coach Jerry Stackhouse joined Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase and weighed in on the game-winning shot.
As soon as they converged on the basket, all of the guys, before Ez even passed the ball, all the guys had the 3 fingers up. They know that ball was supposed to get there, man. It was fun, and just playing the right way. I mean, obviously, we would have took the 2 if he would have had a wide open lane. But, when they converged like that, he made the right play, man.
And a few deals have gone down in the NBA prior to today's trade deadline at 2 p.m. D'Angelo Russell is off to the Lakers, while Russell Westbrook heads over to the Utah Jazz, and Kevin Durant is set to join the Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And Albert Breer reported yesterday that your Tennessee Titans are to hire Chad Brinker as their new assistant GM after 13 years with the Green Bay Packers. I'm Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase.
Stone and Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
102.5 and 106.3.
Crank City scores. On both sides of the ball. One big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. So I think, I know I have been, and I'm sure so many Titans fans and we on this station have talked ad nauseum trying to diagnose what happened to Ryan Tannehill in the last 2 years, especially the very stark dichotomy between the 2020 season, where Ryan Tannehill looked like John Elway, versus 2021, where he struggled mightily, where it was almost like, okay, interception a game just kind of feels like that's on Ryan Tannehill's bingo card every single Sunday. So how did you get from Ryan Tannehill, a player who was incredibly efficient, incredibly effective, to Ryan Tannehill throwing 3 interceptions in the divisional round of the playoffs and basically throwing away the Titans' opportunity to compete for a Super Bowl? What went on there? And I thought, okay, maybe it's probably Arthur Smith. That Arthur Smith could find something in Tannehill or could unlock something in Tannehill, understood Tannehill and his abilities enough that he could get the most out of Ryan Tannehill's abilities. Maybe it was the offensive line. You lost a lot of key pieces on the offensive line from 2020 to 2021 to 2022. Ryan Tannehill was on the ground so much. He was under duress so much, under pressure so much that he just couldn't be what he was in 19 and 20 because the offensive line wasn't protecting him enough. Well, Jared's in Phoenix. Jared's at the Super Bowl. He talked to Steve Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus, and he had an idea as to why Ryan Tannehill has regressed, especially in this season.
What do you attribute Tannehill's success to? I think it's the guy that's playing in the Super Bowl this weekend. I think it's A.J. Brown. I think that had a bigger factor maybe than even Arthur Smith, because when A.J. Brown is on the field, when the true wide receiver one is on the field, and there's 6 of them around the NFL, the gravity that they attract, the fact that you could throw to A.J. Brown and he could take over games, the same way Derrick Henry had a couple games that he kind of took over. I think that had more to do with Tannehill's stats than maybe the play caller did.
Okay. So looking at AJ's stats, and we know in 2021 he was kind of on and off the field, even though he played in 13 games, which still isn't really what you need from your number one wide receiver. Ideally, you're playing 16, 17 games, but 13 games, nothing to scoff at. But he was on and off the field. He'd be on for a down, off for a few, on for a few, off for a few. He was dealing with a hamstring injury. He was dealing with nagging injuries all 2021 long. And that was his only season as a Tennessee Titan where he had a sub-1,000-yard season. You look at 2019 and 2020, he was playing majority of the games. He was in a majority of the downs, had 1,000-plus yards those seasons, 8 touchdowns in 2019, 11 touchdowns in 2020. Is A.J. Brown the reason why Ryan Tannehill really kind of regressed?
I think it's not just, again, it's not just as easy as saying, oh, that guy's gone, he regressed, so it has to be that guy that, he's the reason why we saw the regression. He's a part of the reason. Yeah. He's not the sole reason. Just like he's a part of the reason that Jalen Hurts has gotten a lot better, or that Eagle offense has gotten a lot better. AJ is part of the reason, but they have Devontae Smith. They have a hell of a tight end. They have a hell of a running back. Their offensive line is the best offensive line in the National Football League. We all believe. So it's not just one guy, but that one guy makes your job a little bit easier than it was the previous year. Jalen Hurts was getting better last year into the playoffs. Adding A.J. Brown helped solidify them as a top contender and help push them even further than what they were last year. The same with Ryan Tannehill, I believe. It's not just one person. It's a multitude of things. This team has been regressing for the last 3 years. Why? Because the talent pool has weakened on the offensive side of the ball. I always go back to them choosing not to sign Davis and Jonnu Smith. They went and then they get rid of Saffold. They let him go. And then Taylor Lewan gets hurt. And then Ben Jones is hurt. And then you bring in a guy that's already hurt in Woods. And then you bring in another guy that in Hooper that is still trying to figure out the offense, and he finally gets it toward the latter part of the season. And you got a young tight end that is going to be damn good, but he's got to learn the offense. It's not just as easy as saying that one person is the reason why that quarterback regressed. And you got to understand, he was injured too this season, Ryan Tannehill. So that was a part of the regression as well. It wasn't just one guy, even though if AJ's on his team, this offense it's better, but how much better? Do they get further in the playoffs? Maybe not, because those injuries are still there. That offensive line is still that offensive line. Maybe he doesn't have enough time to throw it to AJ. So it's not just as easy. That's low-hanging fruit for me. Yeah. At least for me.
Oversimplifying.
That's low-hanging fruit. Everybody can say, AJ Brown, take him off this team. That's the reason why they were the way they were from an offensive standpoint. It was a part of it, yes, because he's a hell of a talent. But also, look at the offensive line. Everybody know that in the football world, if you've been in it, that if you don't have an offensive line, I don't care who your receivers are, you ain't going to have time to throw it to him. And he didn't have time to throw it to him a lot of times. But he also didn't have the guys on the outside consistently. Traylon Burks wasn't there consistently. Robert Woods, he wasn't consistent, dropping too many balls. Hooper didn't come on to the end of the season. Chigakonkwo was still figuring the offense out. That, more than anything, was the cause of the deficiencies along with the offensive coordinator. That was the cause of the deficiencies in offense. Would A.J. Brown have helped? Absolutely would have helped. But we still would have been complaining about this offensive line.
Yeah, this is, to me, a good example of when you're covering the league and you're looking at sort of the macro of 32 teams and you're trying to explain what happened to a team that went 7-3, ended up 7-10. How do you boil it down? Or one guy like that, it gets overgeneralized. Whereas the three of us and everybody on our station, everybody in this town that talks Titans, we get into the finer points, right? We're digging way down. We're looking under the microscope. We're looking at all of the factors. We're aware of those. For their audience, who they're talking to, they're just giving a real simple snapshot. It's why our English teachers would always say, don't read the cliff notes, read the whole book. Did I listen every time? No. I was looking at the cliff notes.
I'll go watch the movie if I can find it.
I had this exactly. And the teacher would warn you, don't watch the movie. It's different. It's different than the book.
I'll make up my own story. Yeah. I don't have time.
You get it wrong on the quiz because you watched the movie. Some of the English teachers, they knew what to put on the quizzes to separate who actually read the book. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's overgeneralized. You're putting it into a nice little box there. Well, A.J. Brown wasn't there, so Tannehill didn't do well. It's definitely not that simple.
It's not. But it is, if you look at it from a very surface level perspective, you could look at the Titans being the top seed in the AFC last year to going 7-10 this year and missing the playoffs versus the Eagles, where they were a fringe playoff team last year who got bounced in the wild card round by the Bucs, and now they are a Super Bowl favorite. And from a very surface level perspective, what's the one difference between those two teams? One lost A.J. Brown and one got A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith was on this team last year. The Eagles had a really solid offensive line this past year. What's the difference? A.J. Brown. And I'm with you. I don't think that's the sole reason why.
He is a big reason. There's no question. And we knew the minute they made that trade that, this will be very interesting. Mm-hmm. Everything is going to revert back to this trade, and it has. We knew that. We knew it in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, because they went from having one number one receiver to having two number one receivers. They go out and they add playmakers to that defensive, and that's what people forget too, is the talent that they added to that defense that, put them over the top, where, teams were releasing or trading defensive backs that could still play, or release, and the Philadelphia Eagles ends up signing them, or defensive ends. Well, that allowed Philly to play the type of defense they want to play. Aggressive, physical, fast, and opportunistic defense, because that defensive line can get to the passer without blitzing. They can get to the passer. So it leaves those guys who are pretty good cover guys, it leaves those guys in positions where now we can take chances that we probably couldn't take last year, because maybe we didn't have this guy that can rush the passer, or that guy that can cover on the back end.
We're to your phones next. I see your phones landing up. We'll get to those. Plus, AJ had a message. How do we feel about it? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Time to tell you about Lead Company, 615-567-1000, sponsoring our coverage of the Nashville Predators here on 102.5 The Game. Next up, the Philadelphia Flyers coming up for a matinee game on Saturday. And, of course, we'll have the coverage for you here. It'll be brought to you by Lead Company. Lead Company also has the fantastic coverage of your entire house. Remember the home maintenance plan, but also if you're in a pinch, hey, the weather's out, you go outside, you want to start addressing what's been going on in your backyard for a while. You notice, look, I need some help. Home maintenance, home or at work. They've got the general maintenance department at Lead Company, and they're just a phone call away, or just making an online appointment will suffice as well. It's 615-567-1000 or leadcompany.com. It's that simple. Lead Company. Let their decades of expertise go to work for you.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and I'm telling you, this year the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Download FanDuel now and use promo code ROB so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. I'm going with Philly in this matchup, and I'll go with Jalen Hurts as an anytime touchdown scorer running the ball. But you take it any way you want to take it, all on a top-rated sportsbook app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly. So join FanDuel today with promo code ROB to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Want to be the real hero this Valentine's? Genesis Diamonds makes it easy with the Total Romance Package. It's the jewelry, the flowers, the candy, and the dinner out. All the key ingredients for a memorable Valentine's celebration. Here's how it works. When you buy any piece of jewelry for just $99 or more, we'll give you some gourmet chocolates, a bouquet of flowers from Jenny's Flowers, and a gift card toward dinner at STK Steakhouse. We've pulled together some wonderful Valentine gift ideas for the occasion. Rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands, affordable timeless gifts she can enjoy for years. And of course, if you're thinking of getting engaged this Valentine's, Genesis can create the ring of her dreams with our dazzling GIA diamonds and designer mountings. Unlimited possibilities. So bring the sparkle and the romance with one-stop shopping at Genesis Diamonds. Spend just $99 or more with us and get the flowers, the chocolate, and gift card for dinner as our gift. Happy Valentine's Day from Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Limited quantity. See store for details.
Hey, it's Jared with my friends at Hiller. Kick off the new year with new upgrades for your home. This month, when you buy something you need for your home, Hiller will give you something you want. Pick your prize. Get a free 55-inch TV, Apple iPad, Solo Stove, or Nintendo Switch when you purchase new whole home generators or select new HVAC systems. Or a free 55-inch TV, Nintendo Switch, or Solo Stove when you upgrade to a new tankless water heater. There's no better time to take care of necessary home replacements, so call Hiller. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Mid-State Sports League spring registration is now open. With 7 different sports to choose from, there is something for every player. Join Nashville's largest sports leagues and register as a free agent or bring your own team. Spring registration is now open for softball, sand volleyball, soccer, kickball, flag football, and basketball. For a full list of adult and youth leagues, check out midstatesports.com. That's midstatesports.com. It's no debate. Play Mid-State.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, join 102.5 and 106.3 The Game this Saturday at 3rd and Home, located at 919 3rd Avenue North in Germantown for a Preds watch party as the Preds take on the Philadelphia Flyers at 11:30 a.m. Almost just said the Philadelphia Eagles. Got football on the brain. Come watch the game, get some Preds swag, and also enter to win tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Want to get into A.J. Brown's message to Titans fans, but first to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Eric is up next. What's up, Eric?
Hey, guys, one of the things that's frustrating about the whole A.J. Brown deal is a lot of people say, oh, if he was here, he'd be playing great out doing all this stuff. But, guys, I don't know if I buy that. What was the one thing that we knew him for? Every year he'd been here, he'd missed games because he had been hurt. What does he do? He goes to Philadelphia. He does not miss a single game and has his best year of his career. What does that say? That's frustrating to me when something like that happens. And other guys like Roger Saffold, who left here, he had some injury issues. He plays pretty much almost every snap for the Bills. You had Conklin, who had been hurt. He's not only did he play a lot better with Cleveland, he's about ready to sign a new contract. I mean, it's just I don't know what to make of that. When I hear stories like that of former Titans players who have left here and just those situations are either played every game or getting a new contract or whatever, it's frustrating. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Y'all take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, Eric, I think that's a totally fair point. And that's a trend that I have seen is why are all of these players constantly getting hurt and dealing with these money because they're always hurt. They go elsewhere, and then they're totally fine. Like AJ playing in every single game this season. That was one reason why I really was in favor of trading AJ Brown, because I thought if you're not going to be on the field all the time, if you're not going to be able to consistently contribute to this football team, then I can't pay you as much money as you want. And then now I look like a doofus, but it's a fair point.
Well, I mean, it was hypocrisy at its fullest. You don't want to pay a guy because you say, well, he's not on the field all the time, but you bring in guys that are already injured.
Yeah, true.
It's just like, which one do you want? I mean, do you not want to pay a guy because he's injured with you, but you would pay another guy that was injured with another team? I mean, you can't have it both ways. Either you sign your guys back and just like anything else, it's like, okay, we're gonna try to do whatever we need to and put in place whatever we need to put in place so our guys are not as injury prone or as repeat injury offenders, as Vrabel so coined it. Whether it's some injuries you just can't get away from. I mean, ACLs. I mean, you can work your tail off and stuff or a high ankle sprain. You can work your tail off and somebody fall on your leg. I mean, it's just gonna happen.
Football's a dangerous sport.
Absolutely. So, but it is interesting that AJ leaves, go to Philly, and he plays all 17 games. Now, whether he was injured or not, it's a different story. Whether he was hurt or not, let's say that. Was he hurt or not, it was a different story. We don't know. He could have been and still chose to play. So moving forward, there are some changes that are happening in that building that have already happened, and I'm pretty sure they're getting down to the analytics of why is it that our guys have gotten hurt with soft tissue injuries so much so that it basically caused our second half to be derailed this past season. And then last season we dealt with it, but we were able to overcome it, to a point. So I'm sure they're going to look at every angle this season or this offseason to make sure that they hope it doesn't happen moving forward?
I think the thing with Brown, for me, looking back on his time here, it wasn't just the games that he missed. He had a lot of games where he was dealing with something. He was playing through some and I don't think it was really his fault, but he was a guy that for the section of games that he was feeling good, playing well, he was a clear game changer. He was a guy that was a number one, and you could see it. He was tipping the scales for his team. But there were a lot of games where it wasn't necessarily that he missed the game, and he did miss a couple, but there were some games where he was hampered, or he had to leave the game in the middle, and he would come back. And I don't know how much of it was soft tissue or just, I remember there were some knee issues. He took some hard hits at times. But I still looked at a young guy, and I said, you know what, it's hard to move away from game changers that you draft and developed. I think that was the critical thing that they did. They went against the trend. Most teams, when they draft a guy and it's a game changer, you sign that guy to the next contract. You are not trading him when they did. And so, again, oversimplifying the fate of the two teams since then, but, man, we knew that day this question was going to be asked, and here we are, one season later in the books. Now, it doesn't mean that the next chapter won't be better for the Titans. And I hope it doesn't go bad for A.J. Brown. I don't root against him. I know a lot of people are like, see, he's banged up. He's banged up. As soon as he looks like any flaw shows up, like, see, I told you it was going to happen like that. That hasn't really happened. But what I am hoping is that Treylon Burks finds his niche, can stay healthy, and we'll see what kind of player he can be.
I think the problem here was, one, he was not necessarily, I guess he did miss games. But in some of the games that he played in, he could have been dealing with something. I mean, hell, everybody was. But I think with him here, he wasn't consistent when he was on the field. He would have a huge game, and just be the dominant player that we knew he could be.
Like that San Francisco game, but right before Christmas.
And then
AJ won that game single-handedly.
Exactly. Then he goes ghost for like 2 or 3 games, and then he comes back with another big game, and then you don't see him. I don't know if that had anything to do with the play calling, how defenses were sort of trying to cover him or whatnot, but there was always this, it was either hit or miss here with him. He had some really big hits, but he also had some misses that were like, where is AJ? Like, why aren't y'all throwing the ball to AJ? Or why is he not a part of the game plan? In Philly, he was more consistent. Now, he did have, 5 games over 100 yards, and they were monster games, but the games that he didn't have, I mean, listen, last year he had 5 100-yard games. He had 1, 2, 3 of 150 plus.
He really was a non-factor in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's been a non-factor in the playoffs, but they hadn't needed him because Devontae has come up with big plays, and Devontae's the number one. They've ran the ball well. Their defense is playing well, shutting teams down. But in Philly, he was consistent. He would have a monster game, but then he would have good games in between. They probably were not 100-yard games, but they were games where he still affected the outcome, whether it be a touchdown or 2, key catches during periods of the game. He never went ghost in a game. Maybe 1 or 2 against Philly with Philly. I saw him go ghost more times here before he got traded than he did in Philly. He was consistent in Philly, and he was on the field. Here, he wasn't on the field as much, and Noonan was. He was dealing with whatever, but then he was just inconsistent. Big game, go ghost for 2 or 3 games. Big game, go ghost for 4 games. He wasn't as consistent here. Now, you can contribute that to a bunch of things, but in Philly, at least in Philly, he was from game 1 to the last game of the season. When he was out there playing, he was consistent.
And I think that's where a lot of Titans fans' frustration lies, is why were you so inconsistent with the Titans? And why have you been such a sure thing in Philadelphia? And that's frustrating. It's frustrating for me, and I know it's frustrating for a lot of Titans fans as well. But coming up next, I want to get into AJ's message for Titans fans and your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Ekholm with a blast to score. Oh, what a stop there by Sherrill. He scores! Philip Forsberg scores!
The second half of the Predators season is underway. What moves will GM David Boyle make to improve his team ahead of the trading deadline?
You're just missing something from the finishing touch.
Keep it locked to your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Imagine her delight when she unwraps a luxurious spa day from a Moment's Peace, the ultimate day spa and salon in Cool Springs. A spa gift card lets her pick whatever she wants, and whether you spend a little or go lavish, you're a thoughtful romantic this Valentine's Day. But time's running very short. Call 224-0770. A Moment's Peace in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall at the intersection of Carruthers Parkway and Bakers Bridge Avenue. Call or click right now, 224-0770. Online at amomentspeace.com.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals, in addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses. We will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going.
I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I think I've grown maturity-wise. Definitely had to learn kind of the hard way as a business. But I think my game just kind of speaks for itself. I'm continuing just to keep trying to get better each and every day, and just trying to let my play speak for me.
There you go. That was AJ Brown at the Super Bowl. And I just can't even believe that, a few months ago, I guess this time last year, maybe, spring-ish, whatever it was. Whenever it was the draft. This time last year when I was saying, yeah, trade AJ. He's always hurt. You can find another AJ. Stupid. Hindsight is 2020. But Jared is in Phoenix. Jared is at the Super Bowl, and he talked with AJ. And AJ did have said a lot without saying a whole lot in his message to Titans fans. This was AJ Brown at the Super Bowl this week.
What do you think about the fact that you made it to the Super Bowl and they didn't even make the playoffs this year? Titans.
I have no comment on that. It would be a question from you.
So I believe if you have nothing nice to say, you don't say anything at all. And I think that's exactly what A.J. Brown was saying there. Because if he wanted to just fly under the radar and do the coach speak and, follow the Tom Brady school of answering questions from interviewers that could potentially make headlines, you say, hey, the Titans believed in me. They drafted me. I'm thankful for my time in Tennessee. No bad blood there. I'm focused on the Eagles. I'm focused on winning a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But he didn't. He said no comment. He had nothing to say. And honestly, good for AJ.
Yeah, I mean,
he probably had to show some restraint, didn't he?
Yeah,
he's earned that right.
Yeah. He's not going to say anything leading up to the Super Bowl that's going to take focus away from what they need to be focusing on. Had he said something about the Titans, it would have been front page at just about everywhere. Oh, A.J. Brown says this about the Titans, yada, yada, yada. And now the focus turns from trying to beat the Kansas City Chiefs to, what A.J. said about the Tennessee Titans, his former team. He was smart in saying, listen, I don't want to comment. Now, I'm sure there's a part of him that, that is sort of disappointed that they didn't make because he has friends on his team. And it seems like he has a good relationship with Mike Vrabel. But then there's a part of him, like any competitor, that says, you know what, good for you. I wanted to stay. I wanted to be there. I wanted to help. And y'all didn't see it that way. Whoever didn't see it that way. And this is what happens when you allow, good players to get out of your building consistently. You're going to feel the repercussions somewhere down the line. It may not be this year, it may not be, but you will feel it. Well, unfortunately for the Titans, they felt it this year, where they were missing, especially when your number one pick, Traylon Burks, was in and out of the lineup. You're missing that number one guy. And if he's not there now, you're going to feel some of that. You're gonna miss having AJ or whoever else that you allowed over the years to leave your team. Why? Because you didn't want to sign him back to a big deal. You figure we can replace him. Everybody isn't replaceable, okay? There are some guys that you can, put them to the side. We can bring somebody else in. But every guy isn't replaceable. And what I mean by that, you may have a guy come in here and he may, AJ put up 14, say AJ would have put up 1,500 yards here and you allowed him to go. Well, there would have been a guy that possibly came in here and put up 1,100 yards, but he wouldn't have been AJ.
And look at the Vikings.
Exactly.
For example, they traded Stephon Diggs to the Bills, drafted Justin Jefferson, and they look like geniuses for making that move.
That's right. That's a good example. It can work going the other way. It is funny. Like, how many songs have been written over the years about "Do you think about me?" Like as the X, right? So that was. You wonder what's in AJ's head, but he says the right thing. That would be the dumbest thing he could do to make it's in Super Bowl week. Something that had to do with something completely different than the Eagles trying to win a Super Bowl. So that was the right thing to do.
His mind is on anything other than
But the song is still kind of like
they're still playing.
We're still like, what do you? What's really in your mind there, AJ? What do you really? Do you still think about Tennessee? Like
that no comment is. Yeah. I think was emotionally motivated, absolutely, but he did show some restraint.
Yeah.
And not adding any fuel to the fire.
I'll be curious. We're actually heading to Philly tomorrow because the Predators play the Flyers. So I'm curious what Philadelphia just feels like just walking around downtown in anticipation of the Super Bowl. It'd be funny. I don't know if we'll bump into some crazy Eagle fans. It's always funny to talk to some. I'm sure just get a conversation going with some locals. About how they feel about AJ and stuff. It's always interesting to sort of tap into that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure the Eagles fans love A.J. Brown. And there are probably so many Eagles fans looking at the Titans thinking, what the heck were you doing getting rid of this guy?
Oh, yes.
But I do wonder, are Titans fans happy for A.J.? Like how do Titans fans look at AJ and the success that he's had this year? The fact that the Eagles were so dominant this year, they're in the Super Bowl. Titans didn't even make the playoffs. Like, how do you feel about AJ now?
And what if he has a big Super Bowl, which very well could happen.
Very well could happen.
And so, if you're the Titans, you got to wear that, right? That's tough. That's a really good question. Is like on a personal standpoint, are you happy for AJ Brown? We like AJ Brown the person, right? He could goof off a little bit. He got weird on Twitter, and there's something. What are you doing, AJ? We had a lot of fun at his expense on shows like this, right?
Yeah.
But deep down, we think he's a good guy. You don't want to root against him, but it is weird. You kind of it's a conflict, right? You don't want your team to look bad, and it does continue to twist the knife a little bit. Every game he does well. It's kind of a weird thing that happens in sports.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't, because there are going to be people that just don't want to wish him well, don't want to see him, have success. Sort of almost at the expense of the Titans, or the Titan fan base. But I'm sure there are a bunch of people that wish him well, and they want to sort of it's almost like some Titan fans don't mind rubbing it in the Titans' face, saying, "Look at what happened.
Look what you did.
Look at what you did.
The mess that you made.
Look at what is happening." In Philadelphia, AJ Brown wins the Super Bowl, and y'all let him get out the building. And I mean, listen, they would be right in a sense, but I'm sure there are more people that are wishing that he succeed than not. So I mean, the Titans. I'm sure Mike Vrabel hopes that he succeed.
Yeah.
Because that's a relationship they built. But I know Vrabel too got to be like, damn.
The other dynamic that I see sometimes on Twitter, and this is unfortunate because Twitter is not real, right? You're not in a real relationship. But what people, they put themselves out there on Twitter, right? They put a narrative out there. AJ Brown, you'll see, he's going to get hurt. He's not going to do well in Philadelphia. He's the Philly fans are going to eat him up. Any number of things to say, hey, the Titans were right. They did the right thing. And when that narrative doesn't come true, very rarely on Twitter do you see somebody go, you know what? I was wrong about AJ. I was wrong about AJ. I wish him well. Great job, AJ. People usually don't do that. They double down. They triple down. They wait. If it's 2 years from now, if he gets hurt, like, I told you he was going to get hurt. He might have 2 Super Bowl rings and 2 1,500-yard seasons. They won't matter to those guys, right?
They don't care about that.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, but that's kind of how Twitter works, right? You put your opinion down. You put the
flag
in the ground, and you're like, that's how I feel about it. I'm not changing. I don't care what happens.
Honestly, I was one of those people. I thought, okay, yeah, good luck, AJ, with your crying on Twitter and your clapping back at the media. Good luck doing that in Philadelphia, because that media core is so much more harsh than anything that you're going to get here.
I thought there would be some of that for sure.
Totally.
But I think at some point you kind of say, all right, look, we were wrong.
Yeah.
We were wrong. He at least so far, he's done a good job. He's not alienated himself. He's had a great year.
And I wish nothing but the best for AJ, because at this point, what are you going to do? AJ's not coming back here.
Yeah.
And the man who made that decision now does not have a job anymore. So, like, what more do you want? How much more bitterness do you have to give toward A.J. Brown? He's not coming back. It's an irreversible trade. The person who made that decision got fired. Part of the reason why he got fired, I believe, is because of that decision. So, move on from it.
I was, it's funny you said that. I'm reading this book called Untethered. And it talks about, like, situations like that. Like, why does situations like that bother people so much when it has nothing to do with you? Like, that situation, it's going to happen no matter what. Like, if you turn away from that situation and never engage, it happens anyway.
Your life will be infinitely better if you just stop worrying about it.
Because that situation was going to happen anyway. Mm-hmm. But the minute you turn to it and engage yourself in it, now you've made it seem as if it's about me now. I've made this, whatever's happening in front of me, I've made it about me. When in actuality, it has nothing to do with you. It was going to happen regardless if you looked at it, commented on it, or whatever. That situation or that thing was going to happen. And that's how sometimes we treat us as media people and majority of the fans out there. That's how they treat it. Like, they involve themselves so much into a situation where you make it personal. It starts affecting you. Whereas if you turn away from it, you never looked at it, it was going to happen anyway. So why does it now involve you somehow, some way?
Is that not like sports fandom?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting yourself emotionally invested into something that you have no control over. Like whatever LSU does on a Saturday in the fall is how my mood is for the rest of the year.
I mean, I feel you. I get it.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's just kind of sports fandom as a whole. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. AJ is gone. You can't cry over spilled milk. But what the Titans can do is try to not just replace AJ, but upgrade at the wide receiver position as well. So where do the Titans go from there? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Social Furniture's tax refund sale is going on now. You will save up to 50% in every department. Huge markdowns. You don't want to miss this opportunity to make your home spectacular. We have everything for your home in stock with no waiting. And hassle-free same-day delivery makes it easy. Pay no money down and pay no interest for 1 full year during Social Furniture's tax refund sale. Don't wait. Come in today. Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue in the Richland Creek Shopping Center. And save, save, save.
This Saturday at 3rd and Home in Germantown. Join 1025 The Game and the Preds Energy Team as your Nashville Predators take on the Philadelphia Flyers. Puck drops at 11:30 a.m. Enjoy game day specials and a chance to win tickets and prizes all game long. Go Preds!
For the love of Tennessee at dawn. For the love of the fight. For the love of having nowhere else you'd rather be. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
They're insightful.
To me, you got a left guard situation you got to figure out.
Credible.
I trust this guy more than this guy.
But sometimes they just argue.
Why do you like the NFL playoffs? Those teams lose
I don't want college football to be the NFL.
When they get...
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville
How
app.
do the Titans rectify the mistake they made in trading A.J. Brown?
I think you got to look for the next guy. I mean, you either do it in volume or you look for the next guy.
Can Burks be that guy?
Maybe, but it's one of those things where I don't want to have to wait. The best teams in the NFL have multiple options. The Bucs a couple years ago already had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Rob Gronkowski, and then added Antonio Brown. And even though, of course, he's crazy, he went out there and was another elite receiver that elevated that offense. You literally can't have too many good receivers to throw to. So I think you should say, hey, we hope Treylon Burks is that guy. He might. I doubt he's A.J. Brown level. He might be really good, but let's get the next guy. Let's get the next guy because it's a tactical thing and it's a strategic thing. It's tactically, like this weekend, the Chiefs have to make a decision. How many people are we going to allot to A.J. Brown, to Devontae Smith, to the run game, to Jalen Hurts, the runner? They have Dallas Goedert. They have 3, 4, 5 things to worry about on every single play, whereas, say, the Cowboys, everybody was just like, stop CeeDee Lamb. That's it, right? Because they lost Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup wasn't the same. Just go stop CeeDee Lamb. Go ahead, throw the ball to Dalton Schultz. Throw to your second option. The best teams have 3 or 4 options. So Treylon Burks might be a stud. Robert Woods is a good complementary piece, but let's say you threw Mike Evans on top of that or threw Terry McLaurin on top of that or whoever else, T. Higgins, whoever else might be available. Of course that makes the entire offense better. So I'm always get more playmakers.
There you go. That was Steve Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus chatting with Jared yesterday on Stillman & Company in Phoenix at the Super Bowl. Robert Woods a good complimentary piece? No, he's not.
Hell no.
No, he's not.
He used to be.
He used to be.
But not for the Titans.
Not for the Titans.
But that shows you someone, like Willie said, someone that has to cover the whole NFL as opposed to, what we do here in town or someone in Philly that just covers Philadelphia football or in Dallas that covers Dallas. We look more at the micro, what's going on with the team, as opposed of this macro and just sort of looking at this team and we got to look at the Dallas Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals. No, we ain't got to pay until the Titans play them. We ain't got to pay attention. We're talking about the Tennessee Titans. And when he says Woods is a complimentary, no, that means you hadn't been watching him.
Probably
because he has been anything but complimentary to this offense.
He's been complimentary to other teams.
Exactly, but him coming off an ACL and you bringing him here and the expectations
the money
were too high, the money, everything else. Next year, if they choose to keep him, I expect to see a different guy, but a year removed. But you're bringing him in not even a year removed from an ACL, and you're asking him to be the receiver he was prior to the ACL. It wasn't going to happen, and many people that thought it was, shame on them. But
here's a funny story I have along those lines. I used to go to Robbie Boren at the Titans, and I would say, look, I love announcing. Everything I'm doing for the game is pre and post game. So during the game, I'd love if there's anybody that needs to keep stats or a spotter, I'll jump in there. So
it's right up your alley, Willy.
I loved it. Yeah, well, I learned a lot from these guys. So sometimes I got into the CBS booth. That was a big thrill for me. So Dick Enberg and Dan Deerdorf were doing some of your games, Derek. This was early 2000s. Really good Titans team. And remember you guys signed Carl Pickens?
Yes.
So Carl Pickens, unbelievable receiver for a long time, but by the time he gets to the Titans,
he was done.
Kind of washed up.
Sounds
right?
like a Julio Jones move.
So I remember being the guy, a young guy, nobody knows who I am, Dan Deerdorf, NFL Hall of Famer, one of the top analysts. He's going on and on about, they got Carl Pickens, it's going to be awesome. And I, during a break, I was trying to politely say to him, like, hey, he's really not playing very well. But, and I don't, they got this guy, Derek. I don't know how much detail, but I was like, it was obvious that he was over projecting Carl Pickens' impact on the team. So I was trying to give him the little local perspective. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is during the break. He's like, who are you to be telling me about this? I'm like, all right, don't listen to me.
I know my role.
Don't listen to me. But, of course, Carl Pickens, he never did anything for the Titans at all.
He got injured again.
Yeah.
Hamstring. That's what he did. But he was great at Cincinnati, but then you bring him here and he's not.
I think it had to do. I was like, I think they'll be gone. I think Pickens will not be on the team next year. He was saying something like they're going to have Pickens for a long time, and they got Yancey Thigpen. I was like,
no,
I don't think.
Pickens
I think you're going to
gone.
see that he's not going to be back with the Titans.
But I mean, with the Titans, you can look at the AJ situation and you can cry over AJ being in the Super Bowl and how much this offense struggled so mightily. But at some point, you're like, you got to replace an AJ. You have to acknowledge the mistake that you made, and you got to replace AJ. You have to rectify the situation some way, somehow. Could you do that with T. Higgins?
Yes.
T. Higgins wants a lot of money from the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Cincinnati Bengals have a big payday coming up very soon. They are probably going to give Joe Burrow more money than any other quarterback in the league. I think he deserves it. Jamar Chase is going to want a lot of money, and the Bengals are going to do whatever it takes to keep those two intact. So where does that leave T. Higgins? Because T. Higgins wants a lot of money. T. Higgins has 1 year left on his deal in Cincinnati. He's a UFA in 2024. Honestly, I think the Bengals are going to hold on to T. Higgins for next season. They're going to say, hey, play out the rest of your deal, and then we'll renegotiate from there. But it could get to the point where the Bengals are like, look, we're not dealing with this anymore. We're trading you. Should the Titans be in the T. Higgins conversation? Because I think that one way that you could look at it is, and one option that the Titans could have, would you trade the 11th pick overall for T. Higgins? You need another guy. You need another receiver.
Would you trade the 11th overall pick? I wouldn't trade the 11th overall pick, but I would, possibly a second rounder, second and a third for T. Higgins. T. Higgins is the number one receiver. He proved that here when Jamar Chase wasn't available. Now, we know what Jamar Chase is, and bona fide, just that guy. But T. Higgins is a number one receiver. He's a big body receiver. If you ever watch, when you watch Joe Burrow and when he throws the ball to T. Higgins, a lot of T. Higgins, especially on the sidelines, going north and south, they're 50-50 balls. And, the quarterback, Joe, doesn't even think about it. He drops back and he throws it. Why? Because he knows more times than not T. Higgins is going to come down with the ball. Why? He got a wonderful vertical. He catches the ball at his highest point. He has strong hands. He's big and he's physical. And his kid can run, too. He can break tackles. He can do everything you want him to do. He reminds me so much. For me, it's like a mixture of Chad Johnson and Kevin Dyson, because he has that quickness of a Chad, but he can get in and out of his breaks. And Chad was able to do it too. But I only speak on Kevin because I saw it every day. Like Kevin, 6'2", 6'3", but ran routes as if he was 5'10", 5'11", because he was able to drop his hips. So these are the things that T. Higgins can do. T. Higgins can elevate your offense. They don't seem to miss a beat if Jamar Chase is not playing. Now, they would rather have him playing than not.
Right.
But it seems like that offense don't miss a beat. Why? Because T. Higgins is a number one guy, and it's hard to stop him because he's not a one-trick pony. He can do everything that you ask him to do on the field. More importantly, he can go up and high point the ball. The Titans don't have enough of that. They have Traylon Burks that can do that. But besides Traylon, they don't have anyone else that can do that from the receiver spot. So if Cincinnati feels they can't sign T. Higgins, then if I'm the Titans, I am inquiring about how can I get T. Higgins on my team. Because with T. Higgins and a healthy Traylon Burks, now you have one of the best tandem of receivers in the National Football League. You have a top 10 tandem, and that's what you need, along with Hooper and Chig. That opens up more you can do from a passing standpoint, and you got Derrick Henry in the backfield.
And that's exactly why I wouldn't hate it if the Titans did trade the 11th overall pick for T. Higgins. If that's the difference between the offense that you had, one of the worst offenses in the league this past year, and having a top 10 tandem in the NFL, I'd do it. Honestly, I would do it. And that's if Cincinnati is willing to deal T. Higgins this year. He's under contract. I don't know if they will, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Me either, because I always go back, and I know we got to go to break here quickly, but I always go back to you had a stud of you had the stud of a group of receivers, and I'm just talking about two. Your tandem in A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. Whether y'all like Corey Davis or not, the kid could ball. And when they wanted to double A.J. Brown, Corey Davis was open, and he caught the football. Now, he needed to be on the field a little bit more, but he proved that he can be that legit number 2 guy when you have a number 1 guy. The minute they traded him away, the minute they allowed him to leave in free agency, the offense started going downhill slowly. Mm-hmm. And then AJ's not on the field all the time. So now you go from AJ and Corey. Corey's not on the field, but AJ's on the field. AJ's not on the field, Corey's on the field. Then when you have them both on the field, it's great. But you went from that to not having a second go-to guy if your main guy is not on the field.
And I think that you're seeing the Eagles kind of reap the benefits of having a solid, well-rounded wide receiver core. Is the Chiefs are going to have a really difficult time trying to allocate their defensive resources to all of the Eagles receivers. Elliot Friedman will join us coming up next. He sat down with UC Saros this past week on his podcast, 32 Thoughts. We'll get into that with Elliot Friedman. It is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. And also, it is Love Week on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by Moments Peace Day Salon and Spa in Cool Springs. Tune in to Robbie and Rex Road tomorrow morning between 6 and 9 a.m. for details on how you could win a $100 gift card to a Moments Peace Day Salon and Spa in Cool Springs and qualify for a chance to win a $1,000 Genesis Diamonds gift card. It's 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. This year, the only app you need for the Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Download now and use the promo code JGM so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads and who will score a touchdown. I feel very confident about Travis Kelce as an anytime touchdown scorer in this football game. All on a top-rated sportsbook app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. And best of all, you'll get paid your winnings instantly. So join FanDuel with the promo code JGM to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57 and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 deposit required. Refund issues, non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.sportsbook.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Here's a Valentine's reminder from Genesis Diamonds. It's not just the thought that counts, it's the effort too. So let Genesis Diamonds turn your Valentine's Day gift into a grand romantic gesture with our Ultimate Valentine's Day package. Right now, when you spend just $99 or more at Genesis Diamonds, we'll give you gourmet chocolates, a bouquet from Jenny's Flowers, and a gift card toward a romantic dinner at STK Steakhouse. It's just one stop at Genesis Diamonds and you create a total romantic experience. You simply choose which ring, pair of earrings, or bracelet or sparkling pendant best matches your special someone, and we'll take care of the rest. And as always, we'll guarantee the best value price with no commission salespeople. The Ultimate Valentine's Day package. Jewelry, flowers, dinner, and candy from Genesis Diamonds. Sure does make it look like she's worth the extra effort. And that's the thought that really counts. Hurry in now because packages are limited. Genesis Diamonds in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Now, your Game Center update.
The Vanderbilt Commodores took down the number 6 Tennessee men's basketball team last night in Memorial Gymnasium. Tyron Lawrence hit a three-pointer at the buzzer to win 66-65 over the Vols. Head coach Jerry Stackhouse joined Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase and weighed in on the game-winning shot.
As soon as they converged on the basket, all of the guys, before Ez even passed the ball, all the guys had the three fingers up. They know that ball was supposed to get there, man. It was fun, and just playing the right way. I mean, obviously, we would have took the two if he would have had a wide open lane, but when they converged like that, he made the right play, man.
And a few deals have gone down in the NBA prior to today's trade deadline at 2 p.m. D'Angelo Russell is off to the Lakers, while Russell Westbrook heads over to the Utah Jazz, and Kevin Durant is set to join the Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And Albert Breer reported yesterday that your Tennessee Titans are to hire Chad Brinker as their new assistant GM after 13 years with the Green Bay Packers. I'm Nick Keiser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3. 1, 2, 3.
I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It was pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Joining us now on a Thursday at 1 o'clock, as he does every week, is Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet. Elliot, I want to get into your conversation with UC Saros this past week, but a little bit of breaking news that the St. Louis Blues have traded Vladimir Tarasenko to the Rangers. Do you have any information about the details of that trade, the return for St. Louis, anything along the lines of that trade?
Yeah, I'm looking into it right now, Carolyn. I think Sammy Blais is going in the trade. I've heard rumblings of Kravtsov, but I haven't confirmed that yet. I think the Blues are eating some of Tarasenko's salary, so there's like a few moving pieces here. But it sounds like it's Blais for sure, maybe Kravtsov, and I'm just trying to get a handle on all the draft picks and salary movements that are part of it.
Elliot Friedman is with us. So do you think, this is not an unexpected move. Vladimir Tarasenko has wanted a trade away from St. Louis. Do you think that this might be one move that's indicative of a larger movement for the St. Louis Blues, maybe trading away some of that 2019 core?
Yeah, I think that's happening. I think that's definitely going on there. The Blues have recognized that it's time. They're behind you in the standings. Their math isn't very good. And, the thing about Tarasenko is the relationship between him and the organization has been falling down for the last couple of years. He asked for a trade before last season. It never happened. I think they explored a trade in the summer. Obviously, it didn't happen, but finally it happened, and he had to approve it. So we're still waiting for the trade call to get done. We'll see what happens here. But Tarasenko is getting traded to the Rangers pending all the official paperwork getting done here because he has to officially get his no trade waived. I think also, we'll see what happens. There's O'Reilly. There's a few other guys. We'll see what they do here. But yes, it's a long way of answering your question, Carolyn, that I do think the dismantling of the 2019 Blues has begun.
So, Elliot, a great interview with UC Saros, and congratulations to you and Jeff Merrick because UC's one of those guys, a little bit like Shea Weber, very happy to talk about teammates, not really excited to talk about himself very much, but I guess it was the atmosphere, the waves, the beach, the vibe, and that is probably one of the best things about the All-Star break, isn't it? That players are a little bit in a different place in mind, and they're willing to have really good conversations like that.
Yes, he joked about my old beard too, so I knew when he got there that he was in a good mood. I don't know Saros that well. I mean, obviously, I know him as a player. I don't know much about him as a person. The thing I liked about him is he was pretty quiet, but he obviously believes in himself. Basically telling the story about how one team asked him, can we do some work on you? I can't remember what he said, X-ray, MRI, whatever it was.
Yeah, that was really compelling. He said that
yes.
You hear sometimes parents doing this with their kids when, 10 or 11 years old. They measure your bones somehow, and they can say if they're going to be growing a lot more, like how tall are you going to be? And I guess that was the issue there.
Yes, and I tried to get him to tell me the team, but he wouldn't do it. I made my best efforts, but I failed. He's a hell of a goalie. There's no question about it, and I think all of us in life, we root for people who are kind of, outside the norm, right? And right now the norm for a goalie is to be an absolute behemoth. And here's Saros, one of the best goalies in the NHL, and he's not a behemoth.
And we want to thank you, too, for shouting us out, how we had these conversations about him as a Vezina goaltender. I was hoping I'll have to talk to Juice and say, hey, that's us. You're talking about us. We got your back, right? But that was interesting.
Yes.
How he's viewed nationally is a big thing. How much Nashville relies on him to sort of lead them through.
I think that he understands that. I think guys find situations where they're happy and they recognize what's good for them. And this is, I got the feeling that I got the feeling that he really likes it there. And I think that's the thing. Like, one of the best lessons I ever got early in my career is that don't bleep with happy. You'll meet a lot of people in this business. They'll go somewhere for an extra couple $1,000 and they're miserable. Like, sometimes you're going to get blown out of the water. You're going to get an offer that says, I can't turn that down. It's life-changing money. But in our business, I've seen a lot of people that from an extra couple here and there, they'll leave and they'll be like, boy, I was happy in that situation. And I think he's one of those guys. Like, obviously the Predators gave him a huge offer. He took it. Could he have gotten more? Maybe. But he's happy. And it's very clear he's happy there. And don't screw with that unless you absolutely have to.
The other thing that I found compelling, and I think a lot of people here will feel this way when they listen to it if they haven't already, because we've had a lot of talk about high ankle sprains because Ryan Tannehill, the Titans quarterback, had a high ankle sprain, and how that's a little bit different than, maybe just rolling your ankle. And he talked in pretty good detail how it affected, how he tried to come back for the playoff series, but there was just no way he could possibly do it, and how it affected his off-season training. So I thought that was it. You don't hear players talk about injuries very much.
No, you don't. And actually, I find that a lot of them do once it's over. As long as it's not still kind of affecting them, they will. The one thing I really regret not asking him about is just how he felt after that big 65 save game against Carolina. That was the one thing after I walked away from the interview was why didn't I ask him about that? Because just what you're like after a game like that, what your teammates say to you, what your coaches say to you, I always go through these interviews and it's done and I'm like, you idiot, why didn't you ask him this question? And now I am sitting here saying, I wish I would have asked that question.
It's funny, after the game when we talked to him, it was the traditional, hey, my team got the job done, we scored goals, when it was obvious that he carried them to that victory. He was so humble, he doesn't take the credit that he probably deserves with that in a lot of ways. The other thing, too, Elliot, that I thought jumped out was he was aware of the advanced statistics, how goaltenders are now viewed, as opposed to for years and years it was just, okay, let's take a look at goals against, let's take a look at save percentage, wins, and that's who your Vezina people are. Now there's so many things that tracked, and I wondered how goalies view those sometimes, but it does look like he's aware of the goal save above expectation. That's where he always scores very well, and you can see how much his team relies on him.
Mm-hmm. I think it's look, he's your, Yossi's your best player, I think, but Saros is your most important player, and I think everybody kind of knows that. I think he's an absolutely critical player. You don't get him every game. Goalies can't play 75 games like they used to. But, if you don't have a guy who gives you a chance to win like he does, you're not going to win. And he gives you a chance to win in a lot of games.
So, Elliot, I notice here you are putting out there that it's not just Tarasenko to the Rangers. They're going to throw in the big, lanky defenseman Nico Mikkola in there as well?
Yeah, it looks like that. And I think Blais is going back. I believe there's Blais going back, draft picks, and a prospect.
Now, Elliot, quickly before we get you out of here, we saw what the Predators did the other night versus Vegas, and Vegas was, before the break, Vegas was on a 3-game losing streak, 4-game losing streak. The Preds was on a 3-game winning streak. Vegas is without their captain, but the way they played, more importantly, the way the Predators played, why does something like that happen, especially off a break that was, honestly much needed for just about everybody?
Mm-hmm. I just think that it's just a matter of when you can make the deal, and when you can pull the trigger. And I think that's kind of where we are in this situation. Like, honestly, Derek, it comes down to when the cap matches up, when you can make the deal, and when you decide it's our turn to pull the trigger. And I think the Rangers feel they're really good and they wanted to score, and that's the guy they targeted. I think they were looking at Patrick Kane too. I'm just not sure that that's all going to work.
Elliot Friedman, Sportsnet, we appreciate you for joining us. We'll chat with you next week.
All right, sorry about all the craziness, guys.
We knew when you came, we're like, he's gonna be digging into this one. This is a big trade right here.
No, it's a busy one, so appreciate you for joining us in all this craziness. That was Elliot Friedman, Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, and hey, I want to give something away. So if you are a Preds fan and you want to win tickets in our Lower Bowl Section 102, just text the keyword Superbook, all in one word, to the game text line 615-737-1025, and you will be entered to win. Win with 1025-1063 The Game, and you can win with Superbook. It's 1025-1063 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The choice is yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You can trek through the savannas of Africa. Wait on the magic moment on the Great Plains of North America. Or find the thrills of Patagonia. You can book your dream hunt at the SEI Convention, coming to Nashville for the very first time. Come find your adventure February 22nd through February 25th. It's the ultimate sportsman's market, a place for every hunter. And this year, it's happening Music City style, with special performances by Lee Brice, Big and Rich, the Frontman with Gretchen Wilson, and of course, Leonard Skinner. It's a celebration of the outdoor lifestyle, February 22nd through February 25th. Come find your adventure. Just log on to safariclub.org. One more time, that's safariclub.org. This convention will sell out, so reserve your spot today. Come find your adventure.
Signs First, Nashville's foremost destination for event signage and physical media. Located just minutes from Broadway, our team of design, production, and installation professionals can help you create an unforgettable event. Stand out. Be different. Go to sfnash.com.
Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments, so the first payment is not until summer of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
The Nashville Sheriff is hiring correctional officers. Earn $52,500 after paid training and probation. Positions are available immediately. You must be 21 and over with a high school diploma or GED. Come join our family. That's $52,500 with great benefits. Apply now at sheriff.nashville.gov/apply or call 615-862-8170. Earn $52,500. Stop searching. Apply now. The Nashville Sheriff.
Show off your cooking skills and support Special Olympics too. Bring the heat to the 2023 Music City Polar Plunge Chili Cook-Off. Saturday, February 25th at Nissan Stadium. With beans or without. We're freezing for a reason. Spice it up now at polarplungetn.com.
More than 95% of people incarcerated will come home like I did. I'm William Arnold, director of the new Tennessee Office of Reentry. When they come home, we want to be ready to help remove barriers to employment. It's okay if you've been incarcerated or justice involved. Help is available. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, later today, tune in for Stillman & Company live from Radio Row in Phoenix, brought to you by Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue in the Richland Creeks Shopping Center. Pay no money down and no interest for 1 year right now during their tax refund sale. So at Radio Row with the media at the Super Bowl, Roger Goodell is going through, all of his due diligence, checking all of his boxes. And he sat down with the media yesterday and addressed a lot of issues or maybe some concerns and some priorities within the NFL at this point, talking about some of their diversity initiatives, getting more minority head coaches into the NFL, trying to bring in more young black people, more young women, more minorities into the NFL. Talked about concussions, how concussions have been up, what did they say, 18% this year concussions were up. Yeah. Injuries overall in the NFL. So just some things, some grumblings and some initiatives and some focuses in the NFL. And then Roger Goodell was talking about something that we have talked about on this program several times. I know so many NFL fans have talked about on Twitter, on social media, especially after the AFC Championship game. He was talking about some of the officiating in the NFL, which has absolutely been a hot-button topic throughout the entire season, and especially after the AFC Championship game. The Chiefs getting an extra third down, and so the Josh Allen incomplete pass versus the Josh Dobbs fumble. So many inconsistencies within refereeing in the NFL. And Roger Goodell addressed it yesterday. This was Roger Goodell.
Yes, we listened to all the voices. Let's just start with that point. But we like to go to the facts, ultimately. So just to take your point, are we losing people from the field to the booth? There are some that never even officiated on the NFL field. And so we didn't lose anyone. May have lost them from our office, but we didn't lose them from officiating on the field. Others are taking on that responsibility at the end of their careers. So I do not think that's a factor at all, zero. I think for us, when you look at officiating, I don't think it's ever been better in the league. There are over 42,000 plays in a season. Multiple infractions could occur on any play. Take that out, extrapolate that. That's hundreds, if not millions, of potential fouls. And our officials do an extraordinary job of getting those. Are there mistakes in the context of that? Yes. They are not perfect, and officiating never will. But we've also had, obviously, replay and other aspects that help us address those issues to make sure they're not something that we can't correct on the field. Communications between our office, that is not the case. In the championship game, that was stopped appropriately because the clock was running by an official on the field. That happens frequently in our game. That's not an unusual thing to have that happen. So again, we want to go back and look at the facts. We may not disagree. We may not agree with every TV announcer or every officiating expert, but we think our officials are doing a great job. But we're always going to look through our competition committee and everything else we have, how we improve our officiating. but it will never be perfect.
There you go. That was Roger Goodell sounding like an alien. They were at the
Yeah,
Super
they
Bowl.
had a little echo, little thing going on with the mic there.
He needs some water.
I'll give you a general take. I agree with him on the broad question of is officiating better than it's ever been. I think it is. I honestly do.
Why?
Here's what I'll tell you. Go back and watch some old games.
Yeah.
And you will see that it is better. And the replay system overall helps officiating. It helps avoid the horrible missed calls, the nightmare that an official will go back and say, I don't know how I missed that, but there was no way to make up for it. Just that alone makes officiating better, I think. It is never going to be perfect. And I guarantee you we'll sit here next year and go, what's going on with the officiating? Is it the worst it's ever been? You always feel that way. But go watch old games. I promise you will notice that it was worse before, I think. And the players get bigger. They get stronger. They get faster. It gets harder to officiate every year. That's part of where I'm coming from with that.
You're only going to get outrage when it seems to be sort of an egregious call or something you may not have seen lately, or if it's in, say the playoffs, then, everything is magnified.
And it should be
magnified.
magnified.
And it rightfully so. Go back to the Cincinnati game. Well, that extra down, technically, that was the right thing to do. That was 100% the right thing to do. Because had they got a touchdown, you know what Cincinnati would have been screaming? The clock wasn't running. The clock wasn't running. They should have stopped it. They should have. And you know what Cincinnati fans would have screamed if they knew the rule? The clock, he should have came in there and stopped the clock. But they didn't. They stopped the clock. The play had already been ran, but he was running from the back trying to stop the clock. He wasn't able to do it. The play had presented itself. He came back in as a ref and said, listen, that play we shouldn't have never even went. I was trying to stop it, couldn't stop it. Now they're all, conversating, and the longer it goes, the longer the conversation goes, that's when the conspiracy theories start coming, But I am in agreement with Roger Goodell from the standpoint of where the league was, where it even 10 years ago, where it was from from officiating standpoint to where it is now. It's much better. Are you going to get some calls that you just don't agree with? Absolutely. You can call holding on every single play if you want to. You can call pass interference just about every third or fourth pass that is thrown in the direction of a receiver, tight end, or running back. You can call it. A lot of times they don't. You hear the announcers, well, they're just letting them play. They're just letting them play. But then if it's a catch and it's physical, who's complaining? The DB's complaining. Mm-hmm. If it's physical and it's not a catch, who's complaining? The receiver and the team is complaining. Well, he's holding me. Well, 2 plays ago, the same thing was happening, and you were pushing and you made the catch. So what's so different when it comes? What you don't want to see is blatant missed calls. Like everybody in the world sees that, whether that was a holding, that was a roughing the passer, or whatnot. If it's blatant and it's not called, then that's where you get the uproar. Just like, roughing the passer. I think they're so conditioned now that if it looks like roughing the passer, they're going to throw the flag.
Yeah, and that's where
that's
to me
because
that's
of where the league has gone.
Yeah, and I think that's where
blatantly bad roughing the passer calls.
Yeah,
see, and that's one specific area. That's why I'm saying in general. I think when you're trying to strive for perfection, you're always trying to keep up with the speed of the game, the way the evolution goes, and now you have technology to help you with that. I think that's where the game that's where you can improve. I think the overall officiating is better than it ever has before. I agree with Roger Goodell there, but I do think to look at what replay does sometimes with roughing the passer, with the catch, not a catch, with the delay of game, play clock hits 0. To me, those are those little areas where I think you can still strive to get better. And in particular, the roughing the passer, I think, has to be addressed. It's gone too far. It's gone too far.
It's
I think
ridiculous.
A vast majority of, I think, football people, fans, every level of football agree that I know we're trying to protect the quarterbacks, and you should, but it's gone too far.
Some of the roughing the passer calls are ridiculous, and to the point of replay has made officiating better than it ever has in the league. Like, I'm sure there were so many, horrible calls like in the 80s when you don't have a pylon cam and you don't have a sky cam and you don't have all these different cameras. I get that. I totally understand that. But I think it's also the idea of you telling me you have all these cameras and you have all of these eyes on every single inch of the field, and you're still making roughing the passer calls like that, and you're still missing or calling dumb PIs like that are totally affecting the outcome of a game. I mean, look at this, the Saints-Rams NFC Championship in 2019. That, I think, was the most blatantly horrendous call that I have ever seen in an NFL game. A single blown call that completely changed the outcome of the game and affected the Super Bowl. I mean, like, calls like that, when you have every resource at your disposal, whether that's the booth or the cameras or replay or whatever it might be. And I feel like that's a little tone deaf from Roger Goodell to say that it's better than it has ever been when there's been so much uproar over dumb missed calls or dumb calls, period.
Well, yeah, but see, the problem with pass interference, you don't want to go down that road of, let's review it, because I think the NFL tried that.
They did it for a year,
and it didn't.
And
it was like, nah, let's not do that, because it's going to cause the game to slow up even more. Two, how many of these refs are going to realistically, go back and make a change on a PI, whether it be offense or defense, unless it's just, like you said, unless it's just blatant. But again, this game is moving so fast. Like, I have people that have seen the game on television, never played it, but seen the game on television, but then they've gotten the ability to get down on the field, and that experience is like no other. Watching a game from a field vantage and how fast it is totally different. So just imagine if a fan thinks once they get on the field and they see this, it's like, wow, how are they even seeing half of this stuff? That's how it is for a ref, but he has to make sure that what he's seeing is right, because these things a lot of these plays are bang, bang. Now, when they review it, it's obvious that you can see, well, yeah, he hit him a little bit too early. But in the moment, they're moving that fast. I would challenge anybody to try to be a ref in a high school game.
Yeah.
Or in a college game.
Or
try to
in a flag football charity tournament, which is what I did.
What I'm saying is how it's their job, yes. But just like us, our job is to, give information on the radio, give our opinions. And we may mess up a lot of times. But when you're on the radio for so long, we know if things happen. You mess up with certain things. That's how the refs are. This game is moving so fast that, listen, we may make a call or we might miss a call, that everybody else after replay, they see, it was. And I'm looking on the Jumbotron as a ref, and I'm like, yeah, that was. Now that we look back on it. But you don't have that advantage in real time. You can't slow it up as it's happening and say, yeah, that's a pass interference. Should they have called that same one? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. They should have called it. But I got to put myself in that person's shoes and say, well, what I made that call, because that was moving damn fast, So I like to look at both sides of an issue. But like you said, there's some egregious calls that wasn't made that should have been made, and you go from there.
It's a tough job. It's a thankless job. And we can get into this. Let's continue the conversation on the other side, and of course your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025. And I'll ask the question to the callers, the texters, the listeners. Do you view the NFL any differently this season or after Roger Goodell made those comments because of the officiating? It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Mikhail Crownland, and this is Maxwell.
And the rebound shoveled in by Mikhail Crownland, and the Predators have tied it up on the power play.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Want to be the real hero this Valentine's? Genesis Diamonds makes it easy with the Total Romance Package. It's the jewelry, the flowers, the candy, and the dinner out. All the key ingredients for a memorable Valentine's celebration. Here's how it works. When you buy any piece of jewelry for just $99 or more, we'll give you some gourmet chocolates, a bouquet of flowers from Jenny's Flowers, and a gift card toward dinner at STK Steakhouse. We've pulled together some wonderful Valentine gift ideas for the occasion. Rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands, affordable timeless gifts she can enjoy for years. And of course, if you're thinking of getting engaged this Valentine's, Genesis can create the ring of her dreams with our dazzling GIA diamonds and designer mountings. Unlimited possibilities. So bring the sparkle and the romance with one-stop shopping at Genesis Diamonds. Spend just $99 or more with us and get the flowers, the chocolate, and gift card for dinner as our gift. Happy Valentine's Day from Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Limited quantity. See store for details.
Imagine her delight when she unwraps a luxurious spa day from a Moment's Peace, the ultimate day spa and salon in Cool Springs. A spa gift card lets her pick whatever she wants, and whether you spend a little or go lavish, you're a thoughtful romantic this Valentine's Day. But time's running very short. Call 224-0770. A Moment's Peace in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall at the intersection of Carruthers Parkway and Bakers Bridge Avenue. Call or click right now, 224-0770. Online at amomentspeace.com.
Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hi, this is Chef Mark again from Bob's Steak and Chop House at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Come join us before any Preds game or concert at Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy one of our prime steaks. Why Bob's, you may ask? Because at Bob's, we not only serve prime beef, but the top 2% of prime beef in the world. Try our certified Japanese A5 or Australian tomahawks. So come see us at Omni before you go to any game and make sure to ask for Chef Mark. Let's go Preds!
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-326-7765 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-326-7765. That's 800-326-7765. What do you have to lose? Call 800-326-7765. Again, 800-326-7765.
TSU basketball lives on 102.1 The Ville. Join Coach Brian Petty Collins and the Tigers for every great moment in the OVC. On your home for TSU basketball, 102.1 The Ville and the Ville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
So, I get it. I see what Roger's saying. I see what his point is, but you just can't have. We're literally one really bad Super Bowl play away, like affecting the Super Bowl from people completely losing their minds, and it's about having that quality in the biggest possible games.
There you go. That was Charles Robinson on Robbie and Rex Road this morning. Of course, Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports. He is in Phoenix this week, and he's saying, hey, if there's a blatantly bad call in the Super Bowl, when all eyes are going to be on that screen, you are going to hear a lot of uproar. Rightfully so, because it's the biggest game of the year. It's the biggest game in sports, but also these are some bad calls that have just been building upon one another all throughout the season, year over year. But Willie, you had a point before we went to the break.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was. So we were talking about the officiating.
Speed of the game, officiating, and they're not always going to get it right.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Like, what's a better officiated game? Okay, here are the two choices. You don't think about the officiating at all during the course of the game, and then one awful call like the pass interference one that you referenced, the Saints-Rams game a couple years ago. Is that a better officiated game than one that has inconsistent standards for roughing the passer, for holding, for pass interference throughout the game? Like, what's a better officiated game? So I would argue that you could have a very well officiated game where one call on one play screws it up and has you going crazy for years, right? That we'll never forget that play.
No.
But I would argue that's a better officiated game than and something that is going to happen again. Whether it happens in the Super Bowl, there's going to be one missed call somewhere on some football field, rather than inconsistency throughout the game. You don't know what's pass interference, how much hand fighting are we getting away with. On one play it's this way, on the next play it's that play. That's bad officiating to me. And so that's where I think that's where Roger Goodell is coming from. Where I think that they've made some strides in those areas, and it's never going to be perfect.
It won't be perfect. And I'm not naive to think that every single holding call, every single itty-bitty, minute little call is going to be called in a game. I totally understand that. These are humans after all. Not every single game is going to be perfect. Not every call is going to be perfect. But I think I'm looking at it as you want to see consistency as much as possible. And the idea is that officiating does not affect the outcome of a game. That they call the right calls, and if you mess up and you step out of bounds or you have a false start, that's on you. That's not on the officiants. So I would probably agree with you that what's a better officiated game is a good game with one bad call versus inconsistencies, because that's really the big thing with me is inconsistencies, week over week, game over game, crew over crew. But they're both bad because both of the outcomes would be affected by the officiating, when the idea of it should be the players affect the outcome. The play calls affect the outcome. The coaching affects the outcome, rather than either one blown call or one incredibly inconsistent roughing the passer call here and there.
Yeah, I can, I can see that, if you walked into a courtroom and gave your spiel, I can see the jury like, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
They're nodding their heads.
Yeah, you're right, Caroline.
Should have gone
you're
to law
right,
school.
You're right, Willy. I mean, but no. Here's the alternative to both, that they don't call anything, that they just let the game
call
play.
Your own foul.
No.
Because
Derek, you held me on that play. I'm assessing you 10 yards.
Because it's, people, like you said, Willie, it's, okay, what if you have a game where, there's penalties going on, or there may be some missed calls. They're not egregious, but there's some missed calls. Or it's that one, the game seemed to be going the way it's going. They're making their calls or whatnot. No one's complaining. And all of a sudden, boom, here's that one play that has everybody, in the frenzy.
Yep.
In the
and
uproar.
everything's on the line.
Yeah, exactly. So what if you just have it, the ref's like, listen, just go out there and play, Y'all play, y'all do it, and then, but people will be complaining then.
Of course,
because there's no penalties called.
Well,
That's how it used to be in the NFL. Like,
right, there used to be no replay system.
It was like, we're just gonna let y'all play,
yeah.
Unless it was like egregious, like.
But it's a different time. There's so much more money in it.
I understand that.
Okay, so here is where the question lies: is are there some things like we don't want every play reviewed, right? But they tried to review pass interference to correct the thing that screwed up in the Rams Saints game, the interference. That didn't go well. Now I would say that if they had stayed with it, like in the NHL stayed with goaltender interference, that was a big cause of confusion the first couple years they put that in there, that you could challenge a goal for goaltender interference. But here we are, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years later, and it's way, way better. Like the other night, there was one in the Predators game. Now, they lost the game 5-1, but there were a lot of people that were wondering, should they have challenged the goal they made it 4-1? But everybody's understanding of the rule, there was a day and time that they absolutely would have challenged that. But now there's a better understanding of how you look at that. And that was clearly a goal, even though it ticked off UC Saros. You almost never see UC Saros get mad, but it was his own guy that pushed the player into him. So it was clearly, not something that you review. They weren't going to overturn it. I think if they had stuck with it, and I think if they challenged roughing the passer, eventually replay could help you save yourself from some really bad calls. The other thing is this eye in the sky, or the correction you hear sometimes. I don't know what's going on in the headset sometimes. But, there's sometimes where the guy's about to challenge a call, and then he picks up the challenge flag because somebody in New York got to the referee and said, you guys missed that one. Mm-hmm. He was out of bounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe we can take that to another level, and that would help, get rid of a few bad calls. It's never going to be perfect, but these small increments of improvement. Think about TV games in the early 70s. We barely had one replay. Like, if you got one replay, watch the Super. You go on YouTube and watch the Super Bowl from 1970 something.
No, they ain't showing replays.
You're barely seeing it. They're like, hey, we got something. It's new. It's called a replay. Like, it was just showing a replay on TV was new, right?
It's better. Like, officiating is better than when they wore leather helmets, for sure. Yes, because you have so many resources at your disposal. But I think that you can see it both ways too.
Yeah,
that if you have all those resources, you better call that PI now.
But the NFL doesn't want it to become. I think they still want, and I think honestly, truly, fans still want that human element. They don't want to have to go to replay for everything.
No, it's boring.
Yeah, it slows up the game. Mm-hmm. People are gonna start, detaching themselves from it and not watching it as much because this game is too long. I'm not watching this whole game. They're calling a penalty, replaying every penalty that they call. I think people truly like the human element of, going out there, and maybe they get it wrong, maybe they get it right, maybe they miss it, maybe they don't. It's what we are, again, I go back to the book. It's like, if it happens, why are you interjecting yourself in it? Because it's going to happen anyway. Why are you messing with yourself that bad, getting your blood pressure all high and everything else? Calm down. It's not affecting you unless you made a bet, then it might be. But other than that, if you were just looking at it from a strictly fan standpoint, listen, they're going to make some calls that you're going to agree with. They're going to make some calls that you don't agree with. You just don't want to get to a point where you're going into a game and you're already like fist ball before they even kick the ball off because you're anticipating a horrible call. People are anticipating horrible calls in the Super Bowl. That's what they're waiting on.
Oh, boy.
Instead of just like watching a game.
Well, and I don't
Walk
know what...
in and unclutch your fist and just enjoy the game instead of going in wanting to fight.
Yeah. Another thing is, like, it depends on the crew, right? The I don't know what officiating crew is doing the Super Bowl. I'm sure it's one that's graded out really well. Mm-hmm. But that's another thing that gets discussed is consistency from crew to crew. You can get the analytics now of how a crew calls holding as opposed to this other crew over here that doesn't call as much holding, right? There's tendencies even of the officials. And so you'd like to see that sort of uniform across the board, or at least something closer to that. That would be another area, I think, to look at for sure. They used to happen with the strike zone in baseball. Then they put that thing on there, and they now have better ways to make it more consistent. Still not like the umps. They still miss it every now and then. But, again, watch a game from the 80s or the 90s before they had that thing on there. They were missing way more balls and strikes back then than they do now. It's way better than it was, and it's much more uniform from crew to crew.
If you want to win a pair of tickets to the Nashville Predators, take on the Pittsburgh Penguins at Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday, February 28th. Answer Willy's trivia question correctly. Call in with the correct answer.
I haven't even texted Nick the answer, but I'm sure he knows the answer to this question. Stanley Cup Final 2017, Game 6. Scoreless game. Nashville needs to win Game 6 to force a Game 7. They score a goal, but it's waved off for an early whistle. Who scored? Who looked like he scored a goal that was waved off that would have put Nashville in front 1-0. And woulda, coulda, shoulda. What would have happened if that goal had counted? Which it should have. Who scored it? 615-737-1025. The Predator that scored the goal that was waved off for the whistle being blown early. If you want the prize, you call in. Don't text the line. You can. You're not going to win.
To be the first person to answer that trivia question correctly, you're going to see the Predators take on the Pittsburgh Penguins at Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday, February 28th. Coming up next, I have an internal dilemma, and I'm hoping Willy and D-Mase can help me out with it. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106 through the game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guy.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order your new Ford from Two Rivers Ford on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Meet Joe A,
Hi.
Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and I'm telling you, this year the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Download FanDuel now and use promo code ROB so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. I'm going with Philly in this matchup, and I'll go with Jalen Hurts as an anytime touchdown scorer running the ball. But you take it any way you want to take it, all on a top-rated sportsbook app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly. So join FanDuel today with promo code ROB to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Third and Home is Germantown's bar with a ballpark. Overlooking the Nashville Sounds, you can have the best seats in the house when baseball season returns March 31st. Pro tip, stop by before the game to watch batting practice from the patio and enjoy happy hour food and drink specials. The mouth-watering menu at Third and Home includes signature items such as wings, stuffed breadsticks, classic burgers, and hot chicken and waffles. Third and Home is open Wednesday through Sunday at 11 a.m. Visit thirdandhome.com.
He's got big takes.
It's not that freaking hard. Hand the ball to Henry.
Small takes.
You have to defend your decision.
But all takes.
They win. They just invested a lot into this game. It was the worst press conference.
He is Jared Stillman.
I guess I'm just not a very good coach, Jared.
Weekdays from 2 to 6. Stillman and Company. Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. So the NFL honors are tonight. It will announce NFL MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, all that good stuff. But I'm having a dilemma when it comes to MVP, because I think a lot of times how you can interpret MVP, whatever that means, most valuable player, however you'd like. I interpret it as you are the most valuable player to your team. You take that player away and that team is completely different. I think a lot of times it gets interpreted as the best player on the best team, or maybe the quarterback on the best team. The reason why Aaron Rodgers has won it twice, or back-to-back in recent years, was because he was the best player. He was the quarterback on the best team in the regular season. So finalists for the MVP, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, and Patrick Mahomes. I'm having a serious mental dilemma. I don't know who's more valuable to their football team, Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
If you take away Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow from the Bengals and the Chiefs, they are two completely different football teams. And I look at it like the Bengals were absolutely nothing. They hadn't won a playoff game in 40 years until Joe Burrow got there. So you would say you take Joe Burrow away and the Bengals are, right back into mediocrity. And then you look at the Chiefs, they trade away their top receiver, one of the best receivers in the league, and Patrick Mahomes still carries them to the Super Bowl. So Patrick Mahomes, you could argue, is more important than any piece around him. So I'm having a seriously hard time trying to decide who is my MVP.
Yeah. So do we agree that it's a 2-horse race between those two?
That fair question.
I think it's a 3-horse race.
So who's your third?
I think it's Jalen Hurts. You got to put him in there because that team is
especially
different without
based on
him.
expectation.
Yeah.
Based on expectation, if you throw that in there, he probably has raised his team way more than expected because we knew Mahomes and Burrow were going to carry their teams. That's kind of like in baseball, like Mike Trout, or hockey, Connor McDavid. They're the best guys. Or like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
You could give Michael Jordan the MVP every year.
Yeah.
When he was playing.
You can get LeBron the MVP
But
every year.
there was a year that Karl Malone won the MVP because he had that special year, and everybody sort of made fun of Malone, like, oh, who's the real MVP? Like that irked Jordan. Remember that was big, talked about in the big documentary they did in The Last Dance. Like he's the MVP? Are you serious? Like he used that to motivate himself. So I do think that's a good argument for Hurts.
Yeah, and plus he, I don't think he will. I think his chances of winning it are slim because he did miss 2 or 3 games toward the end of the season. They end up losing 2 of those games. No, they end up losing
Minshew mania.
Yeah, they end up losing 2 of those games with Minshew. So his presence on the field is valuable to the Philadelphia Eagles. But you look at Joe Burrow and you say, well,
Jalen Hurts actually has the best odds.
Yeah, well,
for Vegas.
You look at Joe Burrow, you're like, man, you take Joe Burrow off that team, and man, what are they? But we haven't seen that because at least this year we hadn't seen it because he's been healthy. Patrick Mahomes, same thing. You take Patrick off that team, obviously that's a different team. Well, when he did miss a few plays, they scored a touchdown. Not to say that would have continued to happen because Patrick Mahomes ended up coming back in the game, but that offense still continued to move down the field.
Was cooking.
Exactly. So Patrick Mahomes could win it just about every year. Joe Burrow, if he continues to play the way he has been playing, and I have no reason to believe he won't, he can win it every year. Josh Allen is out of it, I think. He hasn't done what it takes to win an MVP.
He couldn't step up when
exactly,
he needed to. Absolutely.
So to me, it's the 3-horse race. And if I had to pick, it would either be Hurts or Burrow.
No Mahomes.
Nah, I mean, not to say Mahomes great, but I think this season, I think it would be Burrow or Hurts. I would pick one of the two.
Man.
I have to take Patrick Mahomes. I have to. That's going to do it for us.
I can't believe you didn't take Burrow.
Exactly. Wow.
Putting your roots aside.
Impartial. As I just took my LSU sweatshirt off. Great. That's going to do it for us today. Stillman and Company is coming up next. Jared is live from Radio Row at the Super Bowl. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Peace.
You watch the game.
Haskins again doesn't get it. Jaguars have won the AFC South.
We talk the game.
The offensive side of the football for the Titans, who should be back next season.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
The choice is yours. Wednesdays at 8:40.